This is Ocean Robbins, and I am so happy that in about 6 minutes we are going to begin day 6 of the Food Revolution Summit. We'll be starting with Dr. Sarai Stancic at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. GMT. An hour after that, we'll have an interview with Dr. Brooke Goldner, and at the top of the hour after that, we'll be on with Anthony William. The subject for today's interviews is autoimmunity, how to prevent and reverse inflammatory conditions. Throughout this summit, we've been receiving thousands and thousands of comments every day on our broadcast page, and they've been moving. And I hope you're reading them and engaging and participating, because in this time of physical distancing, one of the most powerful things I think we can do is to not be socially distant. We need love, we need connection, we need belonging, we need human interaction. We're social creatures, and we need to find ways of doing that feel safe, that are healthy, and this virtual gathering is one of those ways for a whole lot of people right now. So jump in, participate, and feel the power of being a part of a community of 315,000 people from all over the planet who are getting informed and getting empowered and getting inspired and engaging and applying this and participating in this food revolution. Teresa Catlin said, I'm so grateful for today's speakers. So moving. I've been in tears. I'm a teacher nearing retirement. I feel that I have a vision for my latter years to help with bringing the link between food and the health of our earth. Are there any organizations or ways you see as most effective? Well, Teresa, thank you so much. You are a teacher, of course, by profession, but also by example, right here, by allowing yourself to be moved by this message and by exploring how you can serve, how you can contribute in your latter years. So thank you. And as far as ways and organizations, there are so many. And that's one of the wonderful things, I think, is the biodiversity of this food revolution. There are about 8 billion people on the planet, and we all have some part we can play, whether it's by choosing what we buy, choosing how we eat, choosing how we feed others, or educating, engaging, sharing in our workplace, in our social interactions, in our family structures, or maybe volunteering for different causes. There are a lot of ways to engage. I think there are more than 8 billion parts to play in this food revolution. So I trust you will find good ones that fit with your skills, your passions, your creativity, your interests, and I'm supporting you and cheering you on every step of the way. And as far as organizations, there are so many of them. Of course, all of our speakers in this summit pretty much have organizations that they're a part of. You can engage with those, and there are many, many more. And of course, Food Revolution is one too. So welcome aboard. We're here to cheer you on every step of the way. Marion said, 2 weeks ago, I lost my father from COVID-19. He also had Alzheimer's disease. In this time of confinement, it's very easy to feel powerless, but these days of interviews have given me hope. I am heartbroken, but I can learn and take care of myself. The most important message to me is that we can take control, our brains can change, our health can change. In my professional future, I hope to be able to convey the same messages of hope, love, forgiveness, and empowerment that I've been hearing in this summit. As Chris Wark said, make your mess a message. Oh, Marion, I'm so sorry for the loss of your father, and our heart is with you and with your whole family in this time. And I'm grateful that you are finding some support in this summit, in your heartbreak, to learn to care for yourself and to do what you can. I think that life is not just a product of what happens to us, it's also a product of what we do with what happens to us. And food is one place where we have the ability to take some charge, to take some control, and to shift the course of things in our lives so that instead of our health being at the mercy of whatever happens to us, we become active participants and generators of greater health. And I thank you for being here. And I hope you're able to find some solace in your grief and also some support towards all that is to come in your life. And yes, I love that from Chris. Make your mess into a message. Turn whatever hardships you face, whatever challenges you face, and make something beautiful out of it. Bethany said, I'm struggling a bit to parent and in the pandemic and homeschool. And I also have time to listen and take in everything. But whenever I think a talk won't be relevant to me, I am wrong. They are all so relevant, each of their stories so inspiring. I pull something valuable away from each and every talk. My reading list is getting longer and longer, and I'm so grateful. I'm also realizing I need to learn more about the concept of being a food revolutionary. Keep up this life-changing work. Well, yes, Bethany, thank you. And we want to support you in being a food revolutionary. And so, yes to that. We're going to be starting today's broadcast in just a few moments with an interview with Dr. Sarai Stancic. As we go through the day, I invite you to regularly post and engage in the comment section on the broadcast page. Read what others are saying, respond, share your own thoughts and reflections. An hour from now, we'll be on with Dr. Brooke Goldner, and an hour after that with Anthony William. As always, each interview will be expertly guided by my dad and colleague, John Robbins. Will last about 45 minutes, and will be followed by questions, answers, reflections, and take-it-home insights led by me. I am so excited, and now we are ready to begin with Dr. Sarai Stancic. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Dr. Sarai Stancic. Sarai Stancic, MD, is a board-certified infectious disease specialist turned passionate advocate and practitioner of lifestyle medicine. She is the founder of Stancic Health and Wellness, one of the first lifestyle medicine practices in the United States. Her passion for lifestyle medicine is rooted in her own experience, living with multiple sclerosis and achieving some remarkable results. Dr. Stancic has conducted clinical studies and authored several research papers in peer-reviewed medical journals. She is producer of the documentary film Code Blue, which highlights the practice of lifestyle medicine to prevent, treat, and manage chronic illness. So now, Sarai, my dad and I are so grateful to you for all the great work you're doing, and we're so glad to have this time with you. And now, for this interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad and colleague, John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, for that introduction, and thank you, Sarai, for being with us once again.
Thank you so much, John and Ocean. It's a great pleasure to join you once again this year.
Well, we are delighted to have you and to bring your voice and message to our audience, and particularly so because you have been becoming increasingly prominent in recent years as a whole foods, plant-based physician, as a practitioner of lifestyle medicine. And one of the most remarkable things about your practice as a medical doctor and about your journey as a human being is the role that your own health has played in who you've become as a person, who you've become as a doctor. It not only did it transform your life, but it transformed your career. And I know you've told your story often, Sarai, but would you mind telling us briefly about your health journey?
No, not at all. I'll take you back to 1995. During that time, I was a third-year medical resident and seemingly healthy, vibrant, and doing really, really well. And it was on one evening in the middle of a very, very busy call. I finally found a little bit of time to take a nap. And when I awakened from that nap, I couldn't feel my legs. And that led me to the emergency room where I was ultimately diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And it was that extraordinary moment in my life, that turning point that really, at that moment in time, felt like the end, but in fact, it was only the beginning. And it put me on this path where doctor is now patient, and that meant a lot of medications. And I found myself, John, over the next 5 to 8 years, growing more and more dependent on medications to address my symptoms and to manage the disease. And by the time I was in my early 30s, I was taking about a dozen medications, and the disease progressed to the point that I was dependent on a cane or set of crutches. And at that point, honestly, I began to lose hope that things could get better. And by chance, miraculously, I came across a throwaway medical journal that described the connections between diet and MS. And I was struck by this because here I was, this, highly trained physician who was being cared for by the best physicians in the country, experts in MS, and I had never heard of this. And that was the catalyst that really drove my interest in really trying to understand how diet affects disease outcomes and how important it is in regards to prevention of the development of chronic diseases. And then further understanding how lifestyle affects outcomes, exercise and stress and sleep and substance abuse, and the importance of social interconnectedness, which really are the pillars of lifestyle medicine. As I read more and more and understood the literature that I had not been exposed to in my training as a physician, I became empowered to implement changes in my own life. And as I did this, of course, it didn't happen in a week or a month, but over time, I started to feel better. And extraordinarily, I went from a woman in 2003 that was dependent on a cane to one that crossed a finish line at a marathon in 2010. And it's been an incredible ride since. And largely, it's that personal story that led to my evolution as a physician, and now wanting to change the way I practice medicine to reflect all of my learnings as a patient, but also taking the knowledge that I have today to bring awareness to not only community, but also to my colleagues, to create change in the way we train physicians so that the future of healthcare can be different. That, of course, it's important that we include everything we have today in medicine. We've made so many important advances, but without discussing and implementing these very important principles of lifestyle medicine to our patient population, we are missing a very important opportunity to prevent disease and to even reverse and ameliorate diseases.
Well, in your case, you were able to adopt lifestyle measures, even though your physicians weren't the source of telling you about them. You discovered on your own that this might be a path that might bear some fruit for you, and it did. Were you able to get off all your medications? How is your health now?
I was able to taper off of all of those medications. And I did this responsibly and thoughtfully. I would just caution that it's important that patients don't just make decisions on their own, that they partner with a physician or a medical professional that can help them to assure that they do this if they choose to do this in a safe fashion. But yes, I was able to taper off all of those medications. And today, 25 years since that diagnosis, I am medication free, disability free, and of course, empowered more than ever before to share this very simple, healing, and powerful message.
You know, when I hear you say that you are today medication free and symptom free, the contrast between that and the prognoses that you must have been told what would be your future when you were first diagnosed and in the ensuing years when you were struggling with worsening symptoms and taking so many medications. And that contrast is just remarkable. And I'm thinking you must have been told you're going to end up in a wheelchair. You must have been told pretty dire things by your doctors that didn't turn out to be the case.
Absolutely. I can tell you the very first day in that hospital room where the lead neurologist came to discuss my MRI findings with me. And I remember there was a team of young doctors with him. They were making rounds. And he looked at me and he said, "Look, your film doesn't look very good. There's a heavy burden of disease." And he looked at me and he said, "I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's a very good likelihood that you will be in a wheelchair within 20 years, and you need to start planning for that. I know you don't want to hear this, but this is a reality of where we are today. And you need to start to consider how you're going to make decisions moving forward because your life is not going to be what you thought it was going to be." And that was really, really difficult. I mean, I was a young woman. I was 28 years old. I had just recently met my future husband. After all the hard work, here I was about to begin my life. And then this happens. And it feels like the floor had just fallen out from under me. And it was a really difficult time with a lot of sadness and even depression.
Well, how did you cope emotionally and psychologically with the illness? I mean, what was your inner life like during those years before you saw the light and began to make changes in what you ate and how you lived that have been so productive and fruitful and positive for you?
I'm blessed in that I have an incredible support system around me, an incredible family. My mother, my father, my siblings really just surrounded me with love and support. As I mentioned, I had recently met my future husband. Believe it or not, I met him 2 months before my diagnosis, and you'd think that would scare away any man. But no, he hunkered down and supported me and has been an incredible partner, and not only family, but just a circle of friends and colleagues that were there for me. And I turn to them near daily for support. And I think faith, the practice of meditation also served me to get through some difficult moments, but it was always about assuring that there was love and support in my immediate circles. And I think that was extraordinarily important to get me through those difficult moments.
Well, I'm so glad you had that support, and your husband sounds like a marvelous human being. and, and it's now, this is 2020. Come October 11th, it will be 25 years since your diagnosis. And I know that 5 years ago, at the 20th anniversary of the diagnosis, you ran and walked 20 miles with I think with some of your patients. Do you have plans for October 11th, 2020, the 25th anniversary?
Yes, I do. Actually, I'm going to repeat that same promise to myself. But this time, of course, we're celebrating 25 years. And so the goal will be to, on that day, October 11th, 2020, I will walk 25 miles. This is going to get harder, John, as the years go by, as you can imagine. And I'm looking forward to this year. And again, commemorating and really celebrating the blessing that today, 25 years of living with this neurodegenerative disorder, that I am whole and so eager to share this, because the bottom line is that all of this is common sense. It's a simple message. We can all do this. We can all consume a diet rich in plant-based foods. We can all engage in daily movement. We can all better manage our stress and shift our perspective of how we see this world. We can all engage in effective sleep. We can all check ourselves on how we're consuming alcohol and using substances of abuse. And then the last spoke on that lifestyle medicine wheel, of course, is the importance of connections, how isolation and depression fuel chronic disease and premature death. So surrounding ourselves with loved ones, trusted relationships, they're all so healing and important. And undoubtedly, it's been that formula that has allowed me to reach this point in my life where I feel so well.
I'm so struck again by the contrast between what has been your health outcome. Your healing journey has led to so much positive, beautiful benefits for you and for everybody that you interact with, I'm sure. And the typical prognosis, I mean, when your doctors gave that dire prediction, they weren't trying to be negative. They
No.
thought they were being realistic. They thought this is what happens. That's because that's what they had seen among their patients taking their treatments. And I want to ask you, Sarai, what was your diet like before your MS diagnosis? And what changes did you notice in how you experienced your life and yourself when you began to introduce simpler and cleaner foods, including what you call the power foods, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and whole grains, and when you cut out highly processed foods?
Right. Well, regrettably, John, my diet was not a very good one, as you might imagine, as a medical resident on call every 24 hours. Highly stressed, not sleeping. Very rarely did I have time to go to the supermarket and buy fresh produce and prepare it. So you can imagine my life at the time was getting up super early, being in the hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning, making rounds, admitting patients. So there was really very little time to care for myself. So, like every other resident and every other medical student, we consumed whatever was in the cafeteria. In our cafeteria, believe it or not, it's still there, is a Burger King. And so we would eat Burger King, or we would cross the street and eat whatever fast food restaurant was there, or Chinese a restaurant or pizza. So we were eating a lot of processed junk laden with sugar, salt, and fat, drinking coffee around the clock, deprived of sleep, no time for exercise. So you can envision how these choices that I was making on a daily basis was certainly fueling the development of this chronic disease. And to be truthful, at that time, I had no idea what a healthy diet looked like because again, here I was, a physician, and not knowing or understanding the importance of nutrition because it was not taught to me in medical school. So, as I began to learn and really understand the literature and what a healthy diet looked like, and I implemented the changes, I mean, something as simple as having, I think this is one of the first values that people will report to me when they start a plant based diet. And I similarly had it as well. You start having bowel movements every day, right? Constipation is a huge problem in our country. And that's because we consume a diet that is fiber deficient. And so just that alone makes people feel so much better. And that was probably one of the first things that I noticed. I felt satiated. I remember feeling more optimistic in the first few weeks. It was as if my mind was clearing for the first time. And then, finding opportunities to introduce physical activity. That was another really important aspect early on. In the 1990s, it was falsely believed that exercise actually exacerbated the disease. So I was advised not to exercise. So for 8 years, I had done little to nothing. I was highly deconditioned. So just beginning an exercise regimen was very, very, very difficult. And what could I do at that point that would allow me to exercise safely? At that point, I was dependent on the cane, and I had a lot of pain and numbness in my lower extremities. So the only thing I could do was a stationary bike, and I could only do a few minutes at a time before my husband would have to carry me off, and it would take time to recover from that. So it was very, very small steps early on. So you can envision how improvements didn't occur in a week or a month. And we're talking 6 months, a year before I really saw significant headway. And that was the tough part because being in my ear, my doctors are whispering, what you're doing is detrimental. What you're doing in deciding to come off the medication, this is a mistake. And not seeing really fruit born until a year or two later, that was the difficult part. And in order to stay on course, it was really my husband and my family that supported me during that difficult time where we really didn't know if the decision I had made was the right one.
When you describe your doctors telling you that what you were doing was detrimental, I'm reminded of a woman I know. She, at the age of 48, after a lifetime of eating basically the standard American diet, eating rather poorly, honestly, she was faced with a severe health crisis. Half her tongue became numb, and the right side of her body soon followed. She lost control of her bladder, her speech became slurred, she could only drag her right leg, and she had a hard time even gripping a pen. And the diagnosis after an MRI was multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
Her doctor strongly recommended a treatment plan, probably not terribly unlike the one that you initially were put on, and it included daily injections of immune-suppressing drugs. And when she told him that she wanted to try a high-nutrient, whole foods, plant-based diet, his response was to tell her quite firmly that diet had no effect on MS and she was wasting her time. He said that the lesions in her brain were permanent and only these injections that he was prescribing could slow their growth. Now, she was desperate and she was tempted to just defer to his expertise, but she was reluctant to adopt a treatment plan and to take drugs that would suppress her immune system and increase her risk of cancer. So she told him she would try the diet first, and if in 6 months her lesions were the same or worse, she would give it up and she would submit to the injections. He was really unhappy with her. He did not like that she was deviating from his protocol, but she persisted and she changed her diet dramatically and she threw out all the processed foods and began eating tons of vegetables and fruits and beans and seeds. And when she went for a follow-up MRI a few months later, Her symptoms had improved. She knew that. And she was told after the MRI that her 3 brain lesions had shrunk. Now, that would be really great news, but her doctor shrugged it off. He said she must have been especially inflamed during the original MRI. And he held strong, he was steadfast in his belief system that diet couldn't be improving things, couldn't make a difference. She thanked him. She never went back to him. She continued with her whole foods plant-based diet, and it's now more than 5 years later. She is almost entirely free of all MS symptoms. She says she's never in her life felt more energy and vitality and health. Sarai, what goes through your mind and heart when you hear a story like this?
Well, I've experienced that, John. I can tell you that in 2015, around the time that I celebrated the 20 years, I actually went to visit one of my old doctors from years ago, one of them who had warned me against this decision. And I can tell you that when he saw me walking down the hallway toward him, he looked so happy, gave me a big hug when he greeted me. And then the first question that he asked me was, "What medication are you on?" And the minute I said, "I'm not on any medication, I'm on this really great lifestyle plan. I eat whole foods, I exercise every day." I went on and on. And he looked at me, and you could see his face just changing from like happiness to disappointment. And he didn't say a word, but just his facial expressions told a story. And ultimately, that conversation ended in that he said, "Look, I'm glad you're really doing well, but you probably would have done well even if you weren't on this diet. Your disease just quieted on its own." But it's interesting, if I had said I was on a medication, then the medication would be responsible for my good
Yes.
outcome.
Yes.
It's really very interesting. And I think it's just because it's ingrained in our brains. This is the way we're trained in medical school. And so by no fault of his own, he can't step out of that perspective. He can't see anything other than what his world over the past 40 years. And that's regrettable. And that's why it's so important that we change the way healthcare professionals think in the future. And thank you for sharing that story with me. Your friend is very, very courageous and brave to have gone, against recommendations, because I understand that can be very, very frightening. But in the end, she made the right decision, and I applaud her for doing that. And by the way, there is a lot of evidence today that we're piecing together to help us understand how it is that eating a plant-based diet improves outcomes in multiple sclerosis. And that's the exciting piece, right? Because when Swank talked about this in the 1950s and published data on this, we weren't really quite sure how can that be? How can it be that what you put on your plate affects outcomes in a neurodegenerative disorder that affects myelin, the tissue that surrounds the brain and spinal cord? And what we've learned most recently, and two important publications, one of them from researchers at Mount Sinai and another study done in Milan, Italy, is that essentially when we eat a plant-based diet, a fiber-rich diet, we shift the makeup of the microbiome, the bugs in our gut. And the bugs in your gut either produce healthy, positive messages or negative pro-inflammatory messaging. And that either stimulates or quiets the immune system to attack myelin. And that applies to other autoimmune diseases, right? Because at the end of the day, multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, all of these autoimmune diseases have the same mechanism, right? It's your immune system attacking self. And so by that same theory, hypothesis that I just described to you, eating a fiber-rich diet is going to quiet and help you better manage all autoimmune diseases. So that's the good news. And I think we're starting to understand the science behind food and autoimmunity.
When you referred a moment ago to Swank, we're talking about Roy Swank, a distinguished neurologist who was at the time in the 50s when you mentioned his work was starting. He was at the head of neurology at what is now Oregon Health and Science University. And he began restricting the amount of saturated animal fat in the diets of his patients who had MS. And he was working with MS patients, and he worked with them over an extended period of time. Sarai, can you tell us what happened to his MS patients over the next 35 years, and how does that compare to what typically happens to MS patients over that amount of time?
Yeah, so Swank in the 1950s started to actually treat patients with a low-fat plant-based diet, and in fact followed a cohort of 140 plus patients. First reported his findings after 20 years in the Archives of Neurology in 1970, but then went on to follow them an additional 14 years, publishing his data in the journal Lancet in 1990. And he found that his patients remained 95% of them remained physically active and free of disability. And this is a sharp contrast to what you would see in populations that were eating a standard American diet.
I spoke recently with a leading neurologist about Swank's work, and he said that still today, Dr. Swank's treatment protocol is the most effective treatment for MS ever reported in the peer-reviewed medical literature. And yet, as you mentioned, it isn't reaching. Most neurologists either don't know about it or don't credit it in some way. And I keep thinking about the title or the working title of your new book that will be out hopefully in fall of 2020. What's missing from medicine? What's missing from medicine, Sarai?
Common sense, right? So, regrettably, the medical education model, John, is based on what we call pathogenesis, right? We're raising disease detectives. So, that's what we're really good at. We collect bits of information, evidence clues to make that diagnosis. So it's, a thorough history and physical exam, and then we do blood work and we do imaging studies, and we collect all of the evidence to ultimately create a list, a differential diagnosis, and then ultimately lead to making that diagnosis. And once we have a diagnosis, we then create a treatment plan. And the treatment plan, of course, includes a pharmaceutical agent, a procedure, or a surgical intervention. That's the way we treat and manage that disease. And that's all important. Of course, we need to know how to do those things. And it's an incredibly important part of training physicians. But what's missing in medicine is the mirror image of pathogenesis or the disease state. And that, of course, is what we call salutogenesis. Salutogenesis is how do we maintain health and well being? And we don't learn that in medical school, right? How do we create health? The healthcare system, of course, is not about healthcare, it's about sick care. So, health is about creating modules in medical school that include nutrition, the art of exercise, stress management, sleep, again, all the pillars of lifestyle medicine. Once we have that in place, so that we have this foundation of understanding how do we maintain health, then of course we need to learn the disease state and how to manage it. But my goodness, when the data tells us today, the evidence in the scientific literature today, John, tells us that we have the knowledge and understanding to prevent 80% of the chronic diseases that we see in clinical practice today, and we're not doing that, that's on us. And we need to correct that, because 80% of diseases that patients are suffering from in our country and across the globe are preventable by simply improving our diet, keeping ourselves physically active, avoiding tobacco, and maintaining a healthy weight. That's what the literature tells us, and we're not delivering that message to communities.
I'm sure that among our listeners right now, there are people who are suffering from illnesses for which Western medicine has no answers. Some of our listeners are probably wondering whether adopting the kind of lifestyle you advocate could help them. But they're also thinking it would mean a lot of change and a lot of effort, and would it be worth it? Sarai, what would you say to people who have those questions?
I see a lot of young women who come to see me because they have multiple sclerosis. And I say to them, this is important not only for your multiple sclerosis, but I don't want you to develop breast cancer 10 years from now, Alzheimer's disease 20, 30 years from now. This idea of optimal lifestyle is going to serve everyone across the board, whether you're young, old, sick, or healthy. This is the best approach to living our best lives. And I say this all the time, but my hope for all of us is that we live our best self gracefully, right? So that at some point, at the end of your life, you're 98 years old or 102, and you spend a beautiful day with your family, friends, great grandchildren, and then you go to bed and don't wake up. That's the wonderful bookend, end of life that I would love for all of us to have instead of what we see today more commonly, particularly in our country, is this 3 or 4 years of pain and suffering with a chronic disease, living in a nursing home, wearing a diaper, demented, unaware of our surroundings. And that's the sad truth of what is happening in our country. And we can prevent that from happening. Of course, we're all going to pass on. But how will we do that? Will we do that with dignity and love, surrounded by our family and friends? Or will it be, sadly, pain, suffering, and dementia? And that's why it's so important to deliver this message to whomever is willing to hear it, because it's that powerful. And honestly, for me, yes, when I first implemented these changes, just like everyone else, I loved a cheeseburger or pizza. But over time, as you start to reap the benefits and you start to feel better and you have energy and depression washes away and there's peace in your life and the ability to get up in the morning and feel my legs and be able to go for a walk and enjoy my children, to me, that is invaluable. There's no food or alcoholic drink that could in any way come close to the joy that I experience when I'm able to feel whole and pain free and to be able to do the things that I've always dreamt of. And that to me is invaluable. And none of those pleasures, those simple pleasures that are to me are important enough to in any way compromise my ability to live my best self.
Listening to you, I'm reminded of the adage that if you want to know what the true value of health is, ask someone who's lost it.
That's a very good point. Yes. Yes.
And I'm also remembering in your film, Code Blue, you tell about your brother-in-law. I think his name is Glenn,
Yes.
who, yeah, he needed a triple bypass surgery, even though he was an active runner and he was not overweight. But his diet wasn't great. He sometimes, you said, ate chocolate chip cookies for breakfast. And after his
Yes.
surgery, he went on to the Ornish program. What do you say to people who feel, like Glenn did at one point, that since they aren't overweight and they exercise regularly and they don't smoke, they're doing fine, and they don't need to take any special care with their food, with their nutritional intake?
I would say to them that although you may feel well today, know that you're driving 90 miles per hour towards a brick wall. We all are. Making these decisions year after year, decade after decade, ultimately will have a bad outcome. It may be heart disease, it may be diabetes, it may be breast cancer. But if you're consuming a standard American diet and engaged in sedentary behavior and highly stressed, these are all lifestyle choices that ultimately are going to lead to detrimental outcomes. That's the truth. And yes, everyone knows someone who smokes 2 packs a day and did it for, 50 years and didn't have any events. Because I hear this all the time, John. Someone always tells me this. I have a friend who eats bacon every day and smokes, and he's just fine. And he's 98 years old and he does the New York Times crossword puzzle. Okay, fine. But I can tell you that that is a very, very rare occasion. Most individuals who engage in bad behaviors over an extended period of time are going to have a bad outcome. That's what the science tells us. That's what we see in clinical practice. Obesity rates in our country are skyrocketing. Diabetes rates are skyrocketing in our country. And this is largely because of the American way. This is what we're doing today. We're fueling on a terrible diet. We're sedentary and we're highly stressed. And, I think a third of our country has issues with sleep disturbance. So all of these variables coalesce and create a country that is really chronically ill. And it's not just, what size you are. It's about mental health, Mental illness is a huge problem in our country. Depression rates are skyrocketing. We have the opioid epidemic that's taken a tremendous toll on our country. So there's a lot of suffering occurring in our country, and it is largely because of the decisions that we're making. This is not our genes simply leading to these outcomes that we're witnessing today. In large part, we have control over many of these outcomes, and we can all do better by engaging in these changes.
Well, I'm starting to understand how an infectious disease specialist with a distinguished career in the field of infectious diseases evolves into a passionate spokesperson and advocate for and practitioner of lifestyle medicine. When you're counseling patients, what are the key dietary principles that you want them to follow? And is there a particular dietary protocol for MS that differs from the optimal diet, say, to reverse and prevent heart disease or diabetes or other illnesses?
Right, great question. So, no, I don't believe that there's a diet for MS and a diet for heart disease or a diet for diabetes. I counsel all of my patients in the same fashion, and it is about moving them to consume a primarily whole food plant based diet. And also, it's important to be sensitive to where the patient is when they walk into my office. Like, where are you on all of this? I have a spectrum, right? I have patients who are pretty strict about their diets, and they are consuming about 90% of their diet is whole food plant based. Some of them define themselves as vegetarian or vegan. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I have patients who eat steak every night, and they're coming in because maybe they recently had an event of some sort, or they saw the light and they're ready to do this, but they don't know how. So there's definitely a spectrum. But when they come into my office, I assess that, and I'm very careful about approaching each patient so that it's respectful of where they are in their life at that point. So it's not about you have to be 100% overnight, strictly whole food plant based. What can you do today? What are you willing to do? What changes are you ready to implement today? And how can I get you on the path so that we start moving in the right direction? So even if someone said to me, Dr. Stanzik, I love steak, there's just no way I'm going to give it up. Okay, so what could we do with that plate? Instead of it covering half of your plate, let's cut down the steak to a quarter, and that potato that you typically consume with that steak with sour cream and butter on it, could we just have a baked potato with, salt and pepper? And the rest of that plate, we're going to fill with bright vegetables. We're going to add broccoli and zucchini and asparagus. We're going to increase the amount of vegetation on that plate. And before you start that meal, we're going to start with a big spinach salad. So it's about starting to shift the perspective on the plate to favor the plant over the animal. So for some patients, that's where I know I have to start with, because if I said to them, we're going to cut out all animal sources, they're going to walk out of the door. And I want to bring in more into the fold. And again, be respectful of where you are. Where's your journey, and how can I support you? My goal is for all patients to ultimately adopt a whole food plant-based diet, right? It's very important to me that when I counsel patients, that they understand that this is not my subjective opinion, that I'm not pulling these recommendations out of the air, that these recommendations are aligned with peer-reviewed medical literature, and there are scientific studies that support why I advise patients to eat in this fashion. So it's really about helping patients to understand, let's keep that plate colorful, let's keep that plate rich with fiber-rich foods, helping them to understand the importance of fiber. Fiber helps to protect our heart. It helps to, improve the makeup of our microbiome. It protects us against developing gastrointestinal issues like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis and cancers, malignancies of the GI tract, and helping them to understand all the benefits that they reap from introducing this nutrient-dense diet. And they may come in to see me because their cholesterol is elevated or because they want to lose weight. But then when they realize, wow, implementing this change in my diet is also going to address my risk of breast cancer, it's going to address my risk of Alzheimer's disease, my risk of an autoimmune disease, my risk of depression, of anxiety, I'm going to sleep better, all of these connections, And I think patients really get excited when we really discuss the myriad of benefits that they will reap from implementing these changes. It's not just the patient, right, that comes into the office that I'm working with, but I know that that patient then turns into that family, and that family turns into that community. And that's what I've seen. I've seen, a woman come in and then she brings her husband, and then she brings her daughter, and then the grandmother, and then the aunt, and then the neighbor. And that's how we create community. And that's what's been so special about this practice. It's now, I think, my eighth year with this lifestyle medicine practice. And I think I've mentioned this to you as well, John, that I have about 40 plus patients in the practice that are also doctors. And that's been another really special part of this practice, in that, when you have a patient, of course, it's an honor and privilege to have that patient change their lives for the better. But when I have a patient who's also a doctor, I know it not only changes his life or her life, but I know it changes the way he or she practices medicine moving forward. And that, to me, is so very special, because then it affects all of his patients. And it allows my message to really resonate even further.
I find that very encouraging and a rather unusual endorsement of the kind of lifestyle medicine you practice. Is it true, Sarai, that you sometimes meditate with your patients in your office, or go food shopping with them, or on walks with them, or even make house calls and sometimes cook with them in their kitchens? Is this, do you do all that?
I do. Yes to all of the above. And it's so much fun, John. Well, yes, we walk together. We walk in the park. We meet on Saturdays, and anyone can come, and people walk as long as they want. We typically do 5 miles. We go food shopping. We go on excursions where about a dozen patients will meet up with me at the supermarket, and we'll walk through the aisles, and we'll talk about sharing recipes. And yes, I will come to your home and prepare a plant-based meal with you. Yeah, it's been such fun, really hands-on, helping patients to make these transitions. And what's been very lovely to witness is just how these patients who make these transformations, how they pay it forward. There's a patient featured in the film, one of my patients. She's a young woman with MS. And just yesterday, she posted a photograph of herself on Instagram of today and then 4 years earlier. And her transformation has been remarkable. She came to see me, John, because of her recently diagnosed MS. But at the time, she was also obese. She was also pre-diabetic, hypertensive, and really depressed. And we talked about that. I said, I know you're here for the MS, but look at everything else that's going on. Anyway, fast forward, today she's lost 70 pounds. She's no longer pre-diabetic. She's off of every one of her hypertension medicines. And she's very public about this. She shares this on social media. And it's so beautiful to see her doing this. And she's reaching out to people in her community. She had a screening of Code Blue in her community and invited me. I came and I spoke afterwards, but she has made such an impression on her family and her community. She is a music teacher in her town, and so is very well known, and her parents are teachers in the town. So this is a family that is very well known and beloved by this community. And she has changed the world in her part of the country. I mean, it's beautiful to watch, because then you see on social media people commenting and saying, I'm inspired by you. I've made changes. I've learned about, plant-based nutrition. And this one woman is really doing extraordinary things in her part of the world. And that, to me, is just heaven.
Well, that to you is just heaven, because you love to see this beautiful message spread and reach more and more people who need it and can benefit from it. And I take heart from that, because I think every one of our listeners, they may not be physicians, but they interact with their friends, they interact with their family members, they interact with their neighbors, they interact with their coworkers, they interact with people who may actually mock or resist the healthy changes that they may want to make, and they may feel a little bit shut down by the response that some of these other folks give to them. But if they can see themselves as leaders as taking a step that maybe other people aren't quite ready yet to take. But when they take it and show the benefits that they derive from it, and they then have something that other people want, they look good, they feel good, they're sharper, they're brighter, they're clearer, they're more happy, then other people want to come along. And this is how we bless each other from the courage that we have. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of power in just being the example. Sometimes we don't even have to say anything, just live our lives in this fashion and you suddenly become the example and people are attracted to that. As you said, people want that. People want that peace and health and wellness that comes with adopting these behaviors. And I think, and I know you'd be a better judge on this, but I feel that there's a sense of change in the air, right? There's movement. I can tell you that even in the field of medicine, 15 years ago, when I started talking about this to colleagues and medical students, it didn't seem to get much traction. There wasn't a lot of attention to it. People thought I was a little strange because I was talking about diet and lifestyle. And all of a sudden, it's becoming much more trendy. I'm being invited to speak, at grand rounds at hospitals and mainstream colleagues that maybe at some point weren't very interested in this are suddenly are and are asking questions. And even in culture, just seeing examples like at the Golden Globes where they made the announcement that they were going to prepare a plant-based meal, I think is great. I think the term plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine is becoming more and more commonplace and folks are beginning to understand what it's all about. I don't know. Don't you think that there's been change in the past few years that we can be excited about?
I've actually been stunned by the speed of the change that's occurring. I mean, we see plant-based burgers in all these mainstream fast food outlets now, and plant-based milks in the dairy section actually taking up more space in the dairy section than cow's milk products, whereas 20 years ago, maybe there was a little bit of soy milk there, but
Right.
other than that, it was all cow's milk secretions. And I'm really thrilled by that. And Sarai, your story, your journey, it's amazing. And your commitment to helping other people is also amazing to me. It's beautiful. It's extraordinary. And I'm sure that many of our listeners would love to have you as their physician. And I know they've gotten a lot out of listening to you today. The more people who heed your message, the more people who hear you, the more people who read your book when it comes out, the more people who watch your film, Code Blue, the healthier our world will be. And I want to thank you for your courage in sharing your experience so openly, for your wisdom, for your caring, and of course, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, John. It was a great pleasure to speak to you.
We've been talking with Dr. Sarai Stancic, founder of Stancic Health and Wellness and producer of the breakthrough film Code Blue. Sarai, we are so grateful for your moving stories, for your extraordinary work, for the beacon of wisdom and possibility and hope you are for so many lives, and for your partnership in the food revolution.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Dr. Sarai Stancic and to my dad and colleague John Robbins for that hope-filled, inspiring conversation. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what others are saying, post and engage in the comments section on the broadcast page. You can refresh those comments using the Get the Latest Comments button so you can see the most recent ones that have been submitted. You can respond to other people, you can like and reflect on others, you can share your top takeaways and highlights and share how this lands for you. What is your food revolution? What does this mean in your life and the lives of the people you love? What action steps are you thinking about taking? What action steps have you taken? Let's engage and share. And also, if you're struggling, what are your struggles? What are your questions? What's up for you here? Our next presentation will be an interview with Dr. Brooke Goldner, starting in about 12 minutes at the top of the next hour. And then an hour after that, we'll be on with Anthony William. Sharon Zuzgo said, Dr. Sarai gives a lot of hope and a great message for all of us. I have had lupus with an extreme photosensitivity for 20 years and therefore cannot take any sun or fluorescent lights. I've had to coat my house windows and car windows and wear special clothing to keep the sun off of me all of this time. This message is full of positivity, and even after all of this time, I can take a lot from her story. I can't wait to read her upcoming book. Thank you for this entire program, John and Ocean. Sharon, I am sorry that you are struggling with this. We're all sending our love and our prayers and our best wishes to you. I think you're going to especially find Brooke Goldner's presentation interesting, so make sure you stay tuned for that, coming up in about 11 minutes from now. May Passam said, thank you, Dr. Sarai, for giving MSers hope. I have MS 22 years, using Walker now, but will eat more veggies, change my diet and lifestyle thanks to you and this summit with Ocean and John Robbins. May, we are sending our love, and I'm holding a vision of you eating lots of vegetables and applying these diet and lifestyle changes, and holding a vision of you walking with ease. So blessings to you every step of the way, and however it unfolds, we're sending our love. Janet Ward said, I'm a Michigander who married a Canadian and lived in Saskatchewan, Canada for 29 years. Saskatchewan is a grain-growing province and had a high incidence of MS. Is there a link between MS and agricultural chemicals? Janet, thank you for raising this, and I am sorry to say that there is. The Energy and Environmental Research Center at the University of North Dakota conducted a study on rats some years back, and they demonstrated that exposure to pesticides, the same pesticides that are consistently used in modern agriculture, created changes in the brain that are just like what we see with MS. The researchers also concluded that pesticide exposure damages the areas in the brain linked not just to MS, but also to epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's. Research by a team from Harvard School of Public Health reached similar findings. They found that respondents who were in contact with pesticides in 1992 were 70% more likely to develop Parkinson's in the decades that followed. So we can see pretty clear evidence that high volume pesticide exposure could be hazardous to your brain. What about the kind of quantity that we get from fruits and vegetables or in our regular lives? Well, that's another topic. So first, let me say, if you live in an area where there are farms and they are spraying pesticides, this is a real concern, and it behooves you to ask some questions and find out what they're using and when they're spraying and see if there are steps you can take to protect yourself. As a consumer, you're also exposed to pesticides if you eat foods that were not grown organically. Now, not as much as somebody who works in the field, of course, that's the highest exposure rate, or somebody who lives right next to it. But it can still be a thing. And so at Food Revolution Network, we suggest if you can't afford all organic, which many of us can't, then you want to first focus on the Environmental Working Group's report on the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So they rank pesticide exposures in food. You can Google this if you want to. And you can see which are the most pesticide contaminated and the least pesticide contaminated fruits and vegetables. And the sort of cheat sheet is that in general, foods that have a shell or a skin that you don't eat tend to be more safe. So even papayas, avocados, bananas, oranges, all those kinds of things are more safe. But if you eat the outside, or if they're a leafy kind of thing, then that can be more vulnerable to pesticide contamination. So how do you get pesticides off? Well, what we recommend in Food Revolution Network, based on a good deal of research, is if you have non-organically grown foods, you can soak them in a solution of about a gallon of water to 1 tablespoon of baking soda. Soak them for about 15 minutes and then rinse them off. Studies have found that gets out the majority of the pesticide contamination that might be there. Of course, if you can go organic, especially with the foods that tend to be more contaminated, that's the best. But we can't make the perfect the enemy of the good. And let me be very clear, if you're choosing between eating non-organic kale and an organic donut, go for the kale every time, because we have a lot of studies showing tremendous health benefit from eating more fruits and vegetables. And most of the fruits and vegetables studied in those studies, consumed in those studies, were not grown organically. So still keep eating your fruits and veggies. That's the number one thing. If you have the resources to go organic, that's great. If not, then soaking in some baking soda water is a good plan B. Kat Anderson said this testimony by Dr. Stancic is mind-blowing and an incredible beacon of hope. I had a beloved science teacher when I was young who committed suicide after receiving an MS diagnosis because she couldn't handle the diagnosis of deterioration and losing her very active lifestyle. If only she would have had this information. I also have a friend with MS now who feels hopeless and resigned to the awful picture that's been painted by her doctors of what her future has in store. I so wish she could have heard this talk. I can't wait to tell her about it. The entire Food Revolution Summit has been mind-blowing, actually. I'm a first-timer. And I'm so grateful for you putting this together. The data-backed information from extremely credible sources is so empowering and so helpful for someone like me, who has a startup dedicated to helping people free themselves from numerous diseases. Thank you so very much for this summit. It's going to change so many lives. I can't wait to tell everyone about what I've learned so far. Well, Kat, thank you for being here. And my heart goes out to you with your science teacher and all of her family there, and I'm sending love to your friend as well. And you said that you wish she could have heard this. Well, she still can. If you give her the replays link, she can tune in anytime today for the replay of today's presentations. And if you get the empowerment package, of course, you'll own it and be able to share it for life. Valerie Lade Gray said, "You have saved my life. I'm a 70-year-old retired RN and EMT. You would think I should know the best way to eat for health, but I didn't, or I chose to ignore it. I gained about 30 pounds with every baby. I have 4, and still my bad diet didn't register. I became diabetic 7 years ago, and I would take insulin to support my eating anything I wanted. Last fall, I landed in the ICU with stage 3 sepsis from unknown embedded kidney stone and required 3 hospitalizations and 2 stays in rehab. I also was told I had liver cirrhosis. I was put on a plant-based whole foods diet by my gastroenterologist a month ago. I bought food from Mama Says, and they invited me to this summit. I have learned so much so far. I've gotten writer's cramp trying to take many notes. We're on a fixed income, so the empowerment package can't fit in our budget, but I don't want to miss a single word. I want to share what I've learned with my loved ones and friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you." Valerie, thank you for being here. Bless you. And my goodness, you have such a story here. I see you getting tremendous value in the times ahead as you move on this path, and then being able to tell so many people, having been in the depths of suffering and experienced the pain that comes from the standard American diet and the status quo, you will be a living example of healing and possibility and hope for so many other people. And we want to support you in that. So we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. You don't have to get writer's cramp anymore from taking notes. You'll have the MP3s of this summit to listen to as often as you want to keep you getting re-inspired and reinvigorated. You can read the transcripts. You can look up source links if you want. You'll also have a couple $1,000s worth of bonuses from our friends and partners to support you on your path. I hope it will empower you and help you stay true, and I look forward to you circling back. My ask of you is, please circle back to next year's Food Revolution Summit and report back and let us know how it has gone for you. I can't wait to hear. Gabrielle Haddad said, "Thank you, Dr. Stancic, for your testimony. I'm a 27-year-old optometry doctor, and I've been dealing with chronic inflammation in my body for 5 years now. Doctors want me to take immunosuppressants as well and offer no other choice regarding my condition. I refuse so far to take these medications as it's going to weaken my immune system and expose me to other chronic and more fatal conditions. The inflammation is still present in my body, and my mental health is affected as well. I wake up every day with pain in my back and stiffness. I feel like a 70-year-old person with pain in my joints, low energy, and negative mood. I got married recently, and I'm excited for my future raising a family. My wife is very supportive, and I'm looking for answers. Listening to the talks in the summit is making me realize that I am more open to making changes in my life. I'm starting to eat more and more vegetables and less meat. I am excited that I'm part of this community now and thankful for the support I'm getting. Staying positive is helping me through my condition, and one day I want to be able to lift my children and play with them, go to work with energy, and help my patients in their own problems, and hopefully spread the message and importance of a plant-based diet. Thank you. Gabriel, thank you. We're so glad you're here, and bless your whole family. We're sending you our love. Kat Anderson said this testimony from Dr. Stancic is mind-blowing and an incredible beacon of hope. All right, well, in a moment now, it will be time for us to move to the next segment of our broadcast, which is an interview with Dr. Brooke Goldner. But first, a word about the Empowerment Package. No matter where you come from or what you've been through, the simple truth is you are meant to thrive. You deserve boundless energy, a clear mind, and a lean and healthy body. You deserve to feel confident and clear about what you eat and why. The Food Revolution Summit is packed with insights, and trying to catch and absorb all of them can be hard. That's why we created the Empowerment Package. With your Empowerment Package, you can own the entire summit, plus all the transcripts and loads of bonus materials for life. Absorb this life-changing material at a pace that's comfortable and easy for you. Join in this movement. Support this mission. Buy your Empowerment Package today. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Dr. Brooke Goldner. Dr. Brooke Goldner is a board-certified medical doctor and the author of 3 best-selling books, including Goodbye Lupus and Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. She's been featured in documentaries like Eating You Alive, Whitewashed, and The Conspiracy Against Your Health. And she's been featured on many TV and radio programs, including The Home and Family Show. And Dr. Goldner is founder of veganmedicaldoctor.com and goodbyelupus.com, and the creator of the Hyper-Nourishing Protocol for Lupus Recovery. So now, Brooke, my dad and I are so grateful to you for all of your brilliant work, and we're so glad to have this time with you. And now, for the interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad and colleague, John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, for that introduction. And thank you, Brooke, for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm as excited to talk to you. I mean, I've been looking forward to this so much. You've been my hero forever.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I love your work. I love your service. I love what you've done with your life, what you do with your life. People with lupus typically experience symptoms like pain and extreme fatigue and hair loss and cognitive issues and physical impairments that affect every facet of their lives. And many will suffer eventually from cardiovascular disease, from strokes, from disfiguring rashes and painful joints. It's really a devastating disease, and according to current thinking in the medical establishment, there is no cure. It is incurable. Now, Brooke, you had lupus with kidney failure and repeated strokes starting at the tender age of 16. The doctors told you that your condition was incurable, that your life would be short and filled with pain, and that you could never become pregnant without risking your life. But 14 years ago, as a practicing medical doctor, you changed your diet dramatically. The disease disappeared, and you now have 2 healthy kids and no sign of the disease. Brooke, can you tell us what happened?
Absolutely. So you're right. Lupus is a really difficult disease to live with, and it usually affects people who are fairly young, like I was. And sadly, it often kills people that are still young in their 40s, 50s, and 60s after living with disability up until that point. So for me, yes, at 16, I started getting arthritis and rashes, migraines, things like that. And by the time I was diagnosed, I was also in stage 4 kidney failure. So at the time they diagnosed me, the doctor told my mom that I had 6 months to live if they didn't put me on really, really strong and experimental medications because my kidneys were failing so quickly. So at 16 years old, I suddenly ended up on high dose steroids, chemotherapy, 6 other medications that I was taking on a daily basis just to survive. And I ended up taking the chemotherapy for a couple of years. That was experimental at the time. And so I went from, living the typical teenage nerdy life to trying to figure out a way to, keep up with my studies and have as normal life as possible while having chemotherapy, taking these meds and living in pain. It was an experience that, had a deep impact on me and on my family too. I mean, my family's Holocaust survivors and, they moved to this country to give me opportunities in this world. And here I was dying at 16. So it was very difficult. And thankfully, after 2 years straight of chemo, I finally went into a remission. And remission does not mean that you're cured. Remission means your disease is currently stable. So my kidneys stabilized, although I still had protein in my urine, I still had some issues. I was stable and not my kidneys weren't failing anymore. I was able to treat my arthritis with medications. And while I was sick, I distracted myself with studying. So I just read all of my textbooks. I became even more nerdy than I was before. And I thought maybe I can learn enough to one day cure this disease or, intellectualizing things helped me survive. So that's what I did. And I actually ended up graduating the top 10 of my class, getting a scholarship to Carnegie Mellon, where I did do genetic research in disease and leukemia and neurobiology, and ultimately decided I wanted to be a doctor to try to help other people with chronic illness. And, I just wanted to live long enough to make an impact on the world. I never planned for having a family or even getting married. Because I knew I'd probably be disabled by my 40s. I'd already had kidney failure. I was probably going to have other diseases, but I found a way to keep myself happy and grateful and enjoy my life. And I thought as a physician, perhaps I could help other people with chronic illness have lives where they feel like they're meaningful to them and where they have happiness and purpose and passion the way I did. So I did that. Medical school is extremely stressful. And I ended up having some mini strokes in medical school, was put on blood thinners. I was told for life I had to inject myself every day with blood thinners. And, that was just the course that I was on. And I had accepted that. And I still, as I said, felt grateful. My family had it much worse off living in concentration camps, dying in concentration camps than I did taking medicines and getting to live my dream of being a doctor. So that was really how my life was heading until I changed my diet. I actually met my husband right when I was graduating medical school. And he put me on a special diet to help me lose weight for the wedding. And next thing I know, because of that change in my diet, all of my symptoms went away. After 12 years of being sick, I was suddenly healthy. Within 3 months, my labs were normal. And this year, that'll be 15 years ago.
That's wonderful. When you first met the man whom you eventually married, there must have been a moment when you first told him that you had a disease that you had every reason to believe would shorten your life and would also mean that you couldn't have children, and that if he stayed with you would mean that he would have to take care of you as you became increasingly disabled. Brooke, how did you find the courage to tell him, and how did he respond when you did?
Well, my husband, Thomas, is an incredible human. When I met him, we fell in love immediately. I mean, within a month of dating, we were talking about marriage. And so I had to say something. No, I didn't say anything right away because, I wasn't thinking ahead to marriage. And you don't really start off a date with an attractive man by telling him about lupus. So I hadn't really brought that to the table. But once he started talking about marriage, I had to. And I did. I sat him down and I told him that I wanted to marry him with all my heart. But, we were 28 years old. And I said, I probably will be disabled. I'm not going to live long. I can't have your children. And you'll end up taking care of me before I die young. I understand if that's not what you want for your life. And he just took a moment and then he just looked me in the eye and he said, I'd rather have a short life with you than a lifetime with anybody else. So I'll just make it the best damn life you could ever have. And I went, great, let's get married.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Wow.
and he really did. I mean, he is really an amazing person. And he has been by my side and has really, I mean, not just is it that the diet he gave me saved my life, but in every way he's enhanced my life. He is truly my soulmate and my greatest love and my partner.
And he now runs or co-runs the rapid recovery groups with you. What goes on in those groups?
A lot goes on in that group. So what we do there is what we've realized over the past decade since my disease was reversed. Let me back up and explain a bit. So I had actually been vegetarian since I was 12 years old. I didn't eat any meat, but I did eat a lot of dairy products, cheese and eggs every single day. And I actually became vegetarian because of your book. My family became vegetarian back when I was 12 years old. And because of the high amounts of inflammatory foods I ate, still by eating processed foods and dairy and eggs every day, I still ended up getting lupus at 16. But my husband at the time was a very successful personal trainer. He has a master's degree in exercise science and health promotion. He was working with MTV. So he was really well known as being a fat loss expert, rapid fat loss. And so I wanted rapid fat loss to look good for our wedding. But his program, it did eliminate high fat foods like eating the eggs and the dairy products, but it also had meat in it, but I refused to eat meat. So I accidentally ended up on a 100% plant-based diet that was very high in the most nourishing foods that there are. And so that's where my disease went away. So after I got better, and especially after I had our first son, that's when we realized that something extraordinary had happened, that I wasn't in remission, I was healthy. And so we spent the next year after that reverse engineering what I did by looking at the science and trying to understand how is it that anything I stopped eating could have been making me sicker, and what foods did I start eating that could have been responsible for the changes I experienced in my health. And we realized we'd accidentally created the most anti-inflammatory nutrition plan really possible for the human body that stimulates cellular repair and optimizes the anti-inflammatory immune system. And that's why I got so healthy. So I was a medical director at a nonprofit in Long Beach treating the homeless. I loved that work. But after we realized this, I realized I had to retire from that to dedicate my life to helping other people with autoimmune disease get their health back, because this really is an area where people just don't have this information. Doctors don't have this information.
No, they don't. And I want to ask you something. What you're saying is fascinating, and I want you to go on. But let me just ask parenthetically here. Clearly, diet changes had a major impact on your healing. And you become a vegetarian or something close to that at 12, but we're still eating a lot of dairy products and high-fat dairy products and eggs and so forth. When you were growing up, I understand it that your parents owned a pizza franchise.
That's correct.
And so I imagine you ate a lot of pizza with a lot of cheese.
Every day.
Every day. Brooke, your kidneys were failing when the lupus came. You mentioned you had stage 4 kidney cancer. That's very serious. Did your nephrologist, your kidney specialist, warn you against eating pizza?
The opposite, actually. My nephrologist told me that pizza was the perfect food because it had all the food groups.
Oh my goodness. So the ignorance of the medical profession about autoimmune diseases and the connection between the food we eat and the inflammation that food can cause is just pathetic. The level of ignorance is just spectacular.
And in the face of science that suggests otherwise. So for example, I have actually published research showing that I can reverse kidney failure due to lupus and other kidney diseases with nutrition alone, something that's impossible to do with medications. I've gotten people literally off the kidney transplant list with nutrition alone. And on top of that, there is research that you can find on PubMed that shows that if someone in kidney failure eats meat, it immediately decreases their kidney function, called the GFR. And yet in the face of that, which you can find on PubMed, I continuously get patients who tell me that their nephrologist told them that they need to eat meat to keep their protein up in kidney failure. So I think that's malpractice at this point.
I do
because
too.
we need to do better. The information is here and we need to do better. So you had asked me about the rapid recovery group. And
yes.
so where I was going with that was what my husband and I realized was, while I do appointments to this day and I teach people how to eat and how to do their lifestyle to get better, a lot of people just struggle to make it work. And there are so many emotional barriers to changing how people eat. Eating is not just about, oh, eat this, not that, right? But it's very much about tradition and addiction and emotions. And so they struggle. So we created this group, and I'm actually starting a new one in a couple of days, where we take 30 people and my husband and I together help them every single day for 42 days with everything that they need to do to change their lifestyle. So of course we make sure they're on the right nutrition, and every day they have to show us everything they ate. But we also look at their sleep, their mood, their self-care habits, their relationships, and we help them redesign their life to have a healthy lifestyle that's going to minimize inflammation. Because you also get inflammation not just from food, but from stress, from poor relationships, depression, trauma. So we help them on a daily basis overcome all the things happening in their lives and rebuild themselves from the cellular level with the right nutrition and the right self-care. And what we see is, in a matter of 6 weeks, people who've been sick for decades are pain-free. Their kidney function's back, their blood pressure's down, diabetes disappearing, heart disease disappearing. It's so rapid and it's so beautiful. But we did that because we realized a lot of people need us to pour their love into them every day. And that's what we do. My husband and I both just give people continuous love and support every day for the 6 weeks. And we love doing that together.
I hear that. It's beautiful that you get that partnership. You mentioned emotional barriers to eating healthily. Sometimes when we're eating differently or want to eat differently than the people around us, that can be inconvenient for other people. It can even be unsettling and confronting for them. And as a result, some of us will hold back from eating what we know would be healthiest and best for us, and we make compromises rather than take the risk of being an annoyance to or upsetting other people. Brooke, when someone truly takes charge of their health and their fitness and their food, is it possible that they actually create a domino effect that over time helps the people they connect with, including those who might not be supportive at first?
Exactly that. That's exactly what happened. I always tell people in my group and in my audience, I always say, listen, if other people become uncomfortable by you doing the right thing, that's really great, because people only change when they're uncomfortable, right? So if they're feeling some discomfort by what you're doing, that means there's something they need to resolve. It's not our job to make other people comfortable. We need to take care of ourselves. And if doing the right thing for yourself bothers someone else, that's their issue, not yours. And we have to be willing to be brave enough not to compromise on ourselves. And that's why a lot of the work I do is actually in helping people with their self-esteem, coaching them on how to go into a family situation like Thanksgiving or Christmas and actually give them the words to say to at the table to deal with people who say things to them. And people will often say, listen, can I have a list of research studies to bring to Thanksgiving dinner so that when people ask me questions, I can respond with research? And I say, no, they're not asking you that because they're looking for research. They're asking you those things because either one, they're worried or scared for you, or two, they're trying to find fault in what you're doing so they don't have to change themselves. And you don't need to defend yourself. All you need to say is, what I'm doing is really helping me. I'm so happy to do it. Please either give me your support or give me your silence. Let's not talk about it anymore. And I give them the courage to do that. And it works. But we have to stop sacrificing our own health and our own well-being, hoping to make other people comfortable, because then both of us actually end up suffering from that, because they also miss out on the opportunity to learn and grow from us.
That's beautiful. I've read your books. In one of them, titled Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, I was very struck by the fact that you provide 25 different case histories of specific people who were suffering severely, in most cases, some cases near death, from autoimmune diseases, but who recovered dramatically by following your nutritional protocol. Now, some of these people had lupus, but the list of conditions that they recovered from is long and extraordinary. Some recovered from rheumatoid arthritis, and others from chronic unrelenting pain or cervical dysplasia, some from end-stage kidney failure, some from Graves' disease, some from Hashimoto's, polycystic ovary syndrome, celiac disease, chronic fatigue, diabetes, myopathy, non-alcoholic liver disease, and even MS, even multiple sclerosis. The list is really long and amazing. And one of these case histories is the story of a man named David Bridges, who developed lupus and several other very serious autoimmune disorders at a very young age, and spent as much as 4 months at a time in a hospital intensive care unit. The doctors repeatedly told his mom that she needed to say goodbye, that he wasn't going to survive. Brooke, can you tell us what happened with David and how is he doing today?
David is so near and dear to my heart. He was actually my first telemedicine patient that I worked with for disease reversal. His mother came to a talk of mine. Really, she was going to get her own credits for her. She's a therapist. And after I spoke, I'd mentioned my recovery from lupus. And she said, I've been praying for you. I knew somebody would come along who was going to save my David. And it was, it was a lot. But I met David and he's a beautiful soul. I mean, here's this guy, he's in his 20s. He managed to finish school in spite of lupus, Sjogren's, scleroderma, months in the hospital at a time. And he had severe disease. The rash on his face was so disfiguring. People literally couldn't look him in the face. And if you look at Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, you can see pictures of him. His fingers were so contracted from scleroderma, which hardens the skin, that all of his knuckles had broken open, and he had infections down to his bone that would not heal because he couldn't sew together that skin. And his doctors told him the only solution would be to amputate his fingers. And he lived in chronic pain. He couldn't button his own shirts, this 20-something-year-old man. And his mother is a single mom. Her whole life was about working and taking care of him. And he just sat at home all day and would go to 7-Eleven for food. But what he wanted to do, and I always ask my patients, what do you want most? And he wanted to work. He wanted to make an impact on the world. But whenever he went to get a job interview, they couldn't even look him in the eye. They couldn't stand to look at him. And so he never was able to get a job. And my heart was just struck. Here is a young man who is brilliant and kind and compassionate, who just wants to be seen. He wants to be a part of this world. And this disease is keeping him from that. So thankfully, we started the diet, and within only a couple of months, his skin healed, his hands healed, and he was able, within 6 months later, he got his first job working at a nonprofit, helping underserved young men who want to get their GEDs, get jobs, become integrated into society. And he was so happy. And he actually has gotten 3 promotions. He's now the manager of that program. And even more exciting, when his hands healed, he actually became an artist. And he's had his art showcased in galleries in Los Angeles, California. He just won an art show competition. So those same fingers that they were going to amputate, he now uses to create extraordinary art that he would never have been able to do. And that's really how I see my gift that I give, is I help others give their gift to the world. Being a doctor to me is not about diseases and medicines. It's about human beings who are suffering, who can't give their gifts. And so he's doing amazing. He actually just got engaged. And his fiance is now also 100% plant-based, and they're excited. His labs are negative. He's had 0 symptoms at all since he changed his diet. And we're going on, oh my goodness, we're going on probably 7 years now.
Well, this is just a phenomenal story. And there are 25 stories in your book, 25 different people.
I had to stop at some point. I could have kept going.
I know. But they're so moving to me. And in David's case, he added in tons of greens and omega-3s. He eliminated all dairy products. He drank 90 ounces of green smoothies a day, made mostly with dark green leafy veggies like kale and spinach. And he experienced these amazing, amazing results. Now, Brooke, when you have had so many experiences like you had with David, of seeing people who follow your nutritional program reverse severe and seemingly intractable autoimmune conditions that are really, really harming their lives, what's it like for you then to see how many people are still suffering enormously from these kinds of diseases? What does that do inside you? What does that evoke? What does that trigger?
Well, I have an enormous pressure inside of me to share and teach all the time as much as I can. If you've already checked me out, you know that I am just nonstop all day long. So I have a completely online practice because I see people from all over the world on a given day from just, I can't even name how many countries I see people in on a daily basis. I also post videos and educational information every single day on social media. I teach my entire nutrition protocol for free online because I believe that health should be a right and not something you have to pay for. You don't have to get my book to get that program. And I spend hours and hours doing live question and answer sessions for free online with people that sometimes can be 4 or 5 hours long, sometimes gone into 1 a.m., 2 a.m., just staying online to answer questions. So I feel so grateful that I am here. You know, I was supposed to be disabled by now. I'm about to turn 43 next month. And I was on the cover of a fitness magazine. Like, how is that possible? Right. So I feel so extraordinarily grateful. I get to look forward to growing old with the men I love. I have 2 healthy, vibrant kids, never eaten any meat or dairy or eggs or anything like that in their life. They have health that I learned in medical school is not supposed to happen. Like, they don't even get colds. And I just feel so passionate and so compelled to share this as much as I can. I was up at 4 a.m. this morning because I was on a live TV news segment sharing about the connection between trauma, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease. If somebody asks me to speak or to do an interview, it's yes. Any opportunity I have to share this, I do it. And it's changing things. And that's what's meaningful for me. I have so many doctors that are my patients right now. I have so many people from all around the world that send me messages on a daily basis that my free information cured their disease. And it just drives me forward. The more positive remarks I get, the more people who show up, the more compelled I am to just keep teaching and keep sharing.
Well, and we're glad that you are doing that and that you're so enlivened and excited and enthusiastic about it because the work you're doing is so important, helping so many people, and there are so many people who need the help that you offer. You have a 6-step protocol that includes eliminating all animal products, eliminating added oils, eliminating processed foods, and then hyper-nourishing yourself with raw plant foods, consuming omega-3s every day, and drinking plenty of water. Brooke, what can you tell our audience about your 6-step protocol that will help them to understand it more fully?
So, when it comes to looking at nutrition and disease, the link between those things is really inflammation. So, inflammation itself is a normal process in the body. But, you know, like if you bang your knee, inflammation is all of those cell mediators coming to repair the damage. If you get a cold, inflammation brings all your immune cells to the forefront so that you can fight off the virus or the bacteria. But most people are living with something called chronic inflammation, where it's not coming from a virus, it's not coming from an injury, it's coming from their food. And if you are creating inflammation in your body all day long with your meals, that chronic inflammation can actually trigger your genes for disease. So when you're trying to heal a disease, you want to do 2 things. You want to, first of all, stop getting sicker, which is the first 3 steps of eliminating those foods you mentioned that make people sicker, that create that chronic inflammation. And then you want to supply your body with the right tools to repair the damage. And that's what's missing from a lot of diets, even plant-based diets, is that plant-based diets in general will eliminate animal products and processed foods and oils, but they don't always supply the right nutrients for people to have a full recovery from their disease because your cells need the right tools to recover. So what I found in my research and my experience over the past decade of reversing diseases is the most important nutrients that people need for disease reversal are, 1, huge amounts of vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients, antioxidants. And the best source of those is cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, cabbage, and other dark leafy greens like spinach, for example. Those pound for pound have more nutrition than any fruit, than any other vegetable. So I really help people focus on adding that to their diet. You also need omega-3 fatty acids, which are the precursors to creating your anti-inflammatory immune system. If you don't have omega-3s, you can't physically fight inflammation. And then hydration. Most people don't realize that water is necessary for all the chemical reactions that take place to eliminate inflammation. So even people who eat well, who are dehydrated, are not going to get full recovery. And so when people start doing that, and I wrote it out in steps so that it could be manageable for people, that I don't have to change everything about my diet tomorrow. I can start with maybe trying to eliminate meat, or maybe I'm going to start by adding hypernourishment, which is a term we created to explain the oversupply or the huge supply of these healing nutrients to the body. That if people just start to take those steps, the more steps they take, the closer they're going to get to getting better health and even a full recovery. And this also explains what chronic disease is, because I believe chronic disease is really an invention of modern times, because we've learned that we can use medicines to suppress symptoms and to keep people alive. But the source of the disease is never addressed, right? This faucet of inflammation coming in is never shut off. And so we're literally mopping up the floor, but keeping the faucet running. But if you shut off that faucet by eliminating inflammatory foods and supplying hypernourishment with those healing foods, the diseases go away, even after decades, whether it's autoimmune disease, diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease, et cetera.
Which is absolutely phenomenal. I want to actually mirror what I just heard you say, see if I got it right. And I want to underline it for our listeners too. If I'm hearing you accurately, you're saying that inflammation in the body has an important function when there's an infection or an injury. Inflammation allows your blood to bring specific immune modulators to the area where it needs to be, where they need to go, to get rid of the infection or to heal the damage. And that's the good and right and healthy role of inflammation. But what I'm hearing you say is that when inflammation becomes chronic, due to what we're eating, then our bodies are going to have a response to our food as if we were fighting an infection 24/7. And this puts the immune system on complete overload to the point that it can no longer clearly recognize what is healthy tissue and what isn't, what needs to be eliminated and what doesn't. And this then sets the stage for autoimmune disorders. Now, in your case, for example, your immune system began to attack your kidneys as if they were a virus or a bacteria, some offending influence that had to be eliminated from your body. And your immune system was effectively destroying your kidneys. Brooke, if I'm hearing you accurately, this is why changing the diet so that it's anti-inflammatory instead of pro-inflammatory, as the standard American diet characteristically is, can be such a critical key to healing. Am I hearing you accurately?
Absolutely. And the thing I'd add to that is eating these kinds of foods will trigger other types. Our foods directly trigger gene expression. And so we all have genes for diseases. All of us do. Mine happens to be autoimmune, but other people, it might be heart disease or fatty liver or diabetes. And when you eat the wrong foods, it will trigger expression of those disease genes. And we can untrigger them again by then changing our diet, so that these diseases that are killing people on a daily basis, the number one killer in our country is heart attack, and heart disease is reversible with a plant-based diet. It's not reversible with medication, but it is with the right diet. So it's not just autoimmune, as you really eloquently just explained, but also all these other diseases that are commonly showing up in people's families and killing people that we love. And those things can be reversed and people can get their health back, and we don't have to lose the people we love, but we have to be willing to make those changes. And the other thing that causes chronic inflammation, by the way, is emotional stress as well. So emotional stress, depression, anxiety, trauma, those also create chronic inflammation. However, those are more difficult to treat. Right. So I spend a lot more time, I'm a trauma specialist, and I spend a lot more time helping people work through their traumas and learning the proper self-care and getting to their emotional health. But nutrition can be changed in a day if somebody's motivated. So the thing we have the most control over is literally what we put on our plate. And that can make all the difference, even while we're working on all the other stressors in our life.
The singer, the American singer Selena Gomez, has 165 million Instagram followers. So she's a very famous woman. And she also has lupus and had to have a kidney transplant to save her life. Brooke, what would you tell Selena Gomez if she came to you as a patient?
Oh boy, would I love that. Selena Gomez is a really good example of what I was just talking about. So she recently just came out that she is getting psychiatric help. She's getting a type of psychotherapy that we use for trauma. So there's a good chance that she's experienced that. And she said that's helped her get into a good place with her health. But she developed lupus. She actually took chemotherapy, which I did, but it didn't work, and she had to get a kidney transplant. And what I would love to tell her is that there is hope even now, and that there's a better way. Once you have kidney transplant, you have to be on immunosuppression for the rest of your life. So that's something that she's not going to be able to change. But by one, doing what she's doing with psychotherapy is great. And two, by getting control of her diet, she can prevent her body from continuing to get sick, because with autoimmune disease, there's always going to be continued damage. Now, the lupus may not recur because she's on so much immunosuppression, but she's going to continuously have damage that's being caused by her diet. And I tried to reach out to her in many different ways before she had the transplant to try to help her. And I was not, it's very hard to reach out to celebrities, and, they get all sorts of messages on a daily basis. But I really wanted to help her as much as I could. And I remember reading an article showing her diet that was helping her stay fit. And it was just tons of meat, very little vegetables. It was just a horrible diet, and it was very pro-inflammatory. And it was shortly after I read that I found out that she was in kidney failure. And as I said earlier, meat accelerates kidney failure. So, I wish I could have intervened earlier, but I would be happy to do it even at this time, because if she or other people like her can share this information, that's going to impact people all over the globe in an instant. Yeah, someone like her, one tweet can change the world, right? So it is something that I try to do on a regular basis, is try to put that information out there, and hopefully it's going to get to people who can have a greater influence as well.
When you talk about emotional healing and healing from trauma and how important that is in recovering from autoimmune disease, I'm thinking of something that you wrote that I found so profound. I underlined it, and then I highlighted it, and then I actually took it and put it in a place where I keep quotes that matter a whole lot to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what you said was that, it sounds simple, but what you said was that rather than focusing on what we want now, we should focus on what we want most. That just rang for me. Can you help us to understand why you say that and what you mean?
Absolutely. So when most people are trying to change their diet, they're using something called willpower, right? So willpower is, I'm just going to hold off as long as I can, right? I've been on many diets before I changed my lifestyle, where it's, I'm not going to eat that food until I reach my goal, and then I'm going to eat it again, right? Or until I have a weekday or whatever it is. And so when people are trying to change their lifestyle using willpower eventually fails. It just does. It's like holding on with white-knuckled fists as long as we can till we just have to let go and do that thing that we were trying not to. But when we focus on something I call why power is what changes our life. So when I talk about why power, I mean, why do you want to do this? What do you want from your life? What do you want most from your life? And so I have people in my rapid recovery group do this exercise, and I actually teach it in that book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, where I want you to think about the life you want, what you want most, and think about it like it's already happened. Paint me a picture of what that is. And in my group, they have to make a video saying it out loud, where I always ask them, what are you doing? How are you feeling? And who are you inspiring? Because I find that that's connected most to our passion and purpose, is also knowing that what we're doing inspires others, that it makes an impact. And so when we're focused on that, so for example, if we look at David, who I just talked about, David, he wanted to work. He wanted to feel good. He wanted to be seen. He wanted to work. He wanted to inspire others to be productive in society in spite of whatever they've been through in their life. And we got a clear vision of that the first time we met. And so then I knew what we were working for. Because when people just go, I want to feel better, it's too vague. It's not powerful enough. So what I tell people to do is every day before you get out of bed, focus on that image. Feel it, smell it, really get that sense of exactly what it is you want most in your life. And when that's clear in your mind and it's clear in your heart, and you have that single tear go down your cheek because you're so grateful about how beautiful that is, that's when you get out of bed and go to the kitchen and start making your food. And that way, it's not a question of, do I want to eat bagel and cream cheese or a green smoothie? You're going to just knock that bagel on the floor like it's offensive, and you're going to go after the green smoothie because that's going to give you what you want most. So when you're focused on your why, on what you want most, then it's not willpower anymore. It's not, do I feel like this or do I feel like that? It is about going after your dream. And so that I find is more powerful than any kind of food that someone can put in front of you that's going to give you pleasure for just a couple seconds to a couple minutes versus that life that you truly want to live or create for yourself.
Yes, living the life that you truly want to create, the life that you envision, the life you were born to live. It's in your
Exactly.
soul to do this, and it's a mandate. It's a destiny. It's a call, and if you're thwarted from that by an illness, by a trauma, by some kind of confusion in your mind that keeps you from clarity and keeps you from being in alignment with your life purpose, then ill health happens, then frustration happens. And I see your work as helping people recover on many, many levels, recovering to their true purpose in life.
Yes, yes. And for many people, that's what they really need because a lot of folks I see, they're actually afraid to do that assignment I just explained. They're afraid to dream because they have been hurt and wounded so badly in their lives that they think that there's actually something called false hope, which is there's no such thing as false hope. There's hope. Hope is everything, right? But once you become afraid to hope, then you become afraid to act, and then you become stuck in this cycle of illness and depression. And so I give people permission to hope. And I give them permission to be happy even while they are sick. Because if you can be happy and grateful while you're sick, then recovery from illness just becomes an extra gift, an extra bonus. And once they get to that place of hope and gratitude, they actually heal faster because they're not creating inflammation from the negativity and the stress. So it is healing on multiple levels that people really need to do. When I see people who are already happy, they're in great relationships, they love their job, and they happen to get sick, go on my nutrition plan for 1 to 2 months and their disease is gone. But for many people, because they've had so much emotional trauma, either from their disease or leading up to their disease, they need to heal on the emotional level at the same time.
What are some of the other obstacles that you see in your patients' healing journeys, and how do you help them to overcome those obstacles?
The major obstacles I see for people is really boils down to how much they value themselves and prioritize themselves. So people who don't get enough sleep really struggle with recovery because our cells repair themselves while we're sleeping. So if you're not sleeping, you're not going to get full recovery. I see people spending their life thinking that what matters most is working and taking care of others, but they have really no concept of what self-care is. I often get asked, what do you mean self-care? Isn't that brushing my teeth? They don't understand the idea of spending time having fun or meditation or hobbies. They just don't understand how that's valuable, especially my doctors. Oh my gosh, they don't value sleep or or fun. It's just about service and work, right? So when we stop valuing that, when we stop nourishing our spirit and taking care of ourselves and prioritizing ourselves, then our health goes away. And one of the things I always say is, listen, if you think you're too busy to take care of yourself, you're eventually going to be too sick to be busy. And that's what I see. And then it shows up in many ways. And what we call self-sabotage, that people find ways not to take care of themselves. I have someone who doing rapid recovery with me individually who told me, oh, I didn't meet my water goal yesterday because somebody got sick and I was stressed. And when I'm stressed, I don't eat and I don't drink. Said, great. So stress created a huge influx of inflammation. And then you compounded that by not taking care of yourself, which is now going to cause damage. The more stress you have, the more you need to take care of yourself, not the less. So there's a lot of ideas people have that come from the way they were raised, the way their parents were, the way they see people in society, that generates this kind of common attitude and way of living that creates illness.
I know that I've had trouble understanding self-care. I, at one point, thought it was selfish to do that. And then I realized, you can give more from a cup that's full than from a cup that's empty.
Yes.
And I also began to see that if the people who don't take care of themselves because they're so busy taking care of others or doing things for other people end up becoming burdens on other people. They end up requiring care from others. They become dependent because they haven't taken care of themselves. So in effect, actually, though they thought they were being of more care for others by doing it the way they were without self-care, they end up actually subverting their service and their giving and their generosity and their compassion's expression because they get sick.
100%. I have two people I'm working with right now who are doing rapid recovery with me on their own. One of them is a doctor who came from India, and she grew up wanted to be a doctor. She went to medical school. She came here to do a residency, and she has never done any kind of self-care. Just study, work, sleep when you can, right? Just barely taking care of herself at all. And she has lupus, and now she's so sick she can't work. So she's not a doctor. She's not acting as a doctor. She's home in bed because she got so sick. And another woman, same thing, also from India, actually, who came here to be a dentist, had to go to school again because in the US we require that. And when she graduated, was able to work less than a year before her arthritis became so bad she can't work. So she's also now in that situation. And what I told both of them is, if you push your body past what it can do, if you don't nourish your spirit, if you don't nourish your body, it will break down. And sometimes you have to break down to rebuild. And that's where they are now, is we have to change all of your habits. You have to learn how to prioritize yourself and your self-care as well as your nutrition. And you can start over and build a life where you can help so many more people than you ever could have before.
As you were talking about that, I was thinking about how doctors can be strangers to self-care. There's nothing in medical training that teaches them about self-care. In fact, quite the opposite. They're often made to go without sleep for very extended periods of time. And they're also often strangers to the healing powers of a whole food, plant-based diet. They're not taught that in medical school. They're not taught about the healing potential of excellent nutrition in any form.
Correct.
What they're taught is to diagnose disease and to manage the symptoms primarily with drugs and surgeries. And sadly, most of us, as a result of all this, still don't have access to plant-based doctors who understand the importance of self-care and understand the healing power of excellent nutrition. And that's maybe even especially true among specialists. So Brooke, what advice do you have for people who need to work with doctors who are not on board with using a highly nutritious plant-based diet?
This is a big issue that comes up a lot. And thankfully, I believe the healthcare revolution is happening. I often feel like I always joke around that I feel like the Bernie Sanders of the healthcare revolution. It's got to be a ground up movement. We're going to do it together. We have to do this. And so, when I started doing this a decade ago, people would tell me their doctor said this is a hack, this is a scam. They didn't believe in it. Nowadays, I get referrals from doctors on a regular basis. So it has definitely changed over time, but still this is an issue that people come up against. And whenever people come back to me and say, my doctor told me this won't work, my doctor says I need to eat eggs or I need to eat meat, the first question I always ask them is, how many people has your doctor healed with nutrition? And if it's none, just ignore everything they say about nutrition. Go to your doctor, get the medicines you need, get the treatments you need. But when it comes to nutrition, you're going to listen to me, because all I do every day is have success in reversing diseases with nutrition and lifestyle. But I do tell them, listen, stay with the doctor, because when they witness this, it may change their perspective, and that could save thousands of lives. And I just got a message yesterday from someone who said she went to her doctor, who could not believe that all of her lab markers were normal. She had rheumatoid arthritis. She has no pain, normal lab markers. And he asked for my book. So when you stick with doctors, sometimes they still don't get it. I've had a lot of people who said their doctors refuse to believe the nutrition is why they healed. They say your meds suddenly kicked in after 5 years of not working or whatever it is. They just refuse to believe it. More and more doctors are becoming open to this. And when you can stick with them and show them, it can really not only save your life, but it can save their patients' lives as well. But you really have to kind of filter out. I always say, kind of tongue in cheek, because I am a doctor, I always say never take nutrition advice from a doctor, because there is no training in nutrition at all in medical school. And any nutrition advice they're giving you is usually coming from what they read in Men's Health or off a Facebook meme, just like anybody else, but not from an actual experience in disease reversal. So we have to really be careful. And even now, thankfully, more doctors are becoming aware of this. They're getting certifications in lifestyle medicine, but those doctors still don't have experience yet. So I still do recommend that people ask anyone that they're getting nutrition advice, have you ever reversed my disease with that nutrition advice? And if it's no, then you're going to want to get that information from someone who has the experience, not from somebody who may have read things or has ideas about it, but does not have results.
What a beautiful and thoughtful and caring answer. Brooke, your exuberance, your enthusiasm for life, and the extraordinary power of your example are blessings. They're blessings to me. They're blessings to anyone who lives in a human body, I think. And I'm thinking right now of the enormous suffering that millions of people are at this very moment experiencing from autoimmune disorders and other conditions that could be reversed by your nutritional protocol. Their physicians typically prescribe drugs that offer no possibility of disease reversal, but only manage some of the symptoms and have a host of harmful side effects. And yet, here you are, healed from lupus, helping millions of people through your inspiring life and work. Brooke, it's very moving for me to talk with you. And on behalf of Ocean and myself and everyone involved in the food revolution, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your amazing will to live, your commitment to health and healing for everyone, your brilliant breakthroughs, your deep passion to help others, and of course, for being with us today.
Thank you. And I've got to say, everything I do today actually is because of you. Because the reason my family became vegetarian when I was a kid is because of your book, Diet for a New America. And granted, I still got lupus because I was eating dairy products, but I'm actually glad I got lupus because otherwise I wouldn't be able to help all these people today. But because I was a vegetarian, when I decided to go on that nutrition plan with my husband, I refused to eat meat. And because of that, I became plant based. And because of that, I healed my disease. And because of that, I'm able to help all of these people all over the world. It all started with you. And I think it's just one of those things where you see how you never know the impact of what it will be for you to share your gift. So I'm grateful for you for sharing your gift and your words in your book, because that's what really started that domino effect that changed my life.
Well, thank you, Brooke. And it's a privilege to hear that from someone like you.
Indeed, it is. And the dominoes keep falling and the change keeps growing. And we never know who's listening right now whose life will be changed as well. We've been talking here with Dr. Brooke Goldner, best-selling author of Goodbye Lupus and Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. Brooke, your story is extraordinary. Your work is making a profound difference in so many lives. And we're so grateful for your tremendous insights, for your passionate eloquence, and for your partnership in the food revolution.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a real honor.
Thank you so much to Dr. Brooke Goldner and to my dad and colleague John Robbins for that extraordinary conversation. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what other people are saying, post and engage in the comments on the broadcast page. Make sure you refresh those comments, clicking the Get the Latest Comments button so you can see the most recent ones that have been submitted. Our next presentation will be an interview with best-selling author and medical medium Anthony William, starting at the top of the hour in about 10 minutes. Christine said, Brooke's words are a breath of fresh air and such a gift after a lifetime of interacting with physicians who are not open to discussing nutrition and lifestyle to improve or heal autoimmune disease. Her story is incredibly inspiring. Also, the tips for interacting with friends and family when they disapprove of dietary changes are invaluable. Thank you. Yes, Christine, I agree. What an inspiring, motivating, and practically useful story and message we just heard. I feel so grateful. Ciara said, this is my third Food Revolution Summit. It always brings me hope and helps me keep going. 5 years ago, I started having pain in my elbow. It soon moved to the other one. I went into the doctor and he told me I had tennis elbow and that I needed physical therapy. I didn't believe that, so I didn't do it. The pain moved to my whole body and I couldn't stand to have anyone even touch me. For the next year, I went to many neurologists, had many MRIs, and a lot of blood work. Nobody could tell me what was wrong. I was told it was either MS or fibromyalgia. I gave up on the medical community and decided I just had to live the rest of my life with the pain. I did that for 2 years. I had some experiences that made me change my mind. I went on a low-inflammation diet, and that helped. I then watched What the Health and decided I needed to switch to a whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. I gave up all dairy, meat, eggs, gluten, and sugar cold turkey. It has been 2 years and I haven't looked back. I've lost 81 pounds. My pain is gone except for the occasional flare-up, and I'm starting to get back into exercise. I'm looking forward to the rest of my journey, and the Food Revolution Summit, Food Revolution Network are a big part of that journey. Thank you. Oh my goodness, Ciara, thank you for sharing what pain you went through. I am so sorry, and thinking you had no hope really. And here you are, experiencing such transformation. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing, and welcome to this conversation right now. We love hearing your story. Thank you. Dina said, Dr. Stansick is amazing. How do we find the Code Blue documentary? It's hard to find. Well, Dina, the Code Blue documentary that we heard about in our last interview is at codebluedoc.com. Again, that's codebluedoc for documentary.com. And it's going to be available for rent or download starting May 26th. It has not yet been released, but it's coming soon. And Elise Johnson Stanford said, such an inspiration. I'd like to find a lifestyle medicine physician in my area. Is there a society with members listed? Well, Elise, there are a couple of resources that you may find helpful. One is plantbaseddocs.com. That's a website. It's plantbaseddocs, DOCS.com. And the other, very similar, plantbaseddoctors.org. Again, plantbaseddoctors.org. These are both websites with directories of physicians that are plant-based in their orientation, or so they self-describe themselves. So how good are they? How holistic are they? Well, you have to use your own best judgment and do your own screening, but at least it's a start for finding some people who believe that food matters and who want to be listed in a website directory of people who are plant-based in their orientation, and there's a lot of resources on there. And Ferrer said, what about healthy whole foods that negatively affect your microbiome? I had mine tested, and bell peppers, quinoa, and blueberries are not helpful to my gut flora. Your thoughts on this? Well, Anne, I don't know what tests you had done or how accurate or effective they are, so please take this with a grain of low-sodium salt. I'm not sharing medical advice here. You should always get health guidance from qualified health professionals who know your specific case. I do want to put out a note of caution in general, though, about some of the tests we find indicating food sensitivities and allergies. There's a lot of wildly inaccurate information out there. For example, most of the food allergy tests that we have access to have false positive rates in excess of 50%. So ultimately, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. If you have reason to be concerned about a specific food or food group, and maybe an allergy test or some other test would indicate you should be concerned, then the next step is probably to try taking it out of your diet for a certain period of time and seeing what happens. But I get worried when people take things like bell peppers and quinoa and blueberries out of their diet on the chance that there's no good reason for it, because unless there's a good reason, you're going to be losing out on some wonderful foods. There are a lot of studies showing bell peppers and quinoa and blueberries containing wonderful ingredients and or compounds and being beneficial for most people most of the time. That doesn't mean they're right for you, but I would encourage you to apply a little bit of scrutiny and test with your own lived experience to see how it goes. Tony Daggett said, I just bought the Empowerment Package. I've been a caterer and personal chef since 1985. Especially during the last few years, clients have been craving vegan and vegetarian options, as well as having concern with allergies and looking to change their diets and lifestyles. I've immersed myself in learning as much as I can about the healing power of what and how we eat. This is my first summit. I've enjoyed every second of it, usually replaying the interviews once or twice after the live presentation. Thank you. Tony, thank you for being here. Thank you for feeding people. And I hope that what you're learning here will help you to sharpen your specialty, perhaps, in being somebody that clients can turn to for fabulous, healthy, delicious food. We surely need more of that in the world. And I'm grateful that what you're learning here will feed many people. Grace Neslin said, this is my first Food Revolution Summit. I'm feverishly taking notes on every session. I had been eating a high animal fat ketogenic diet for 2 years because I thought that was the best for me. In August 2019, I had my third baby and thought he would be my healthiest baby. However, when he was 1 month old, he developed a rash on his cheeks that soon spread to his entire body. His pediatrician and dermatologist prescribed a topical steroid cream that worked temporarily. But whenever I stopped using the cream, his rash would come back with a vengeance. My poor baby. A kind young mom in my homeschool group saw my baby's skin and introduced me to Anthony Williams' protocol, starting the day with fresh celery juice. For a month now, I've been eating a mostly plant-based diet, and I feel lighter and more energetic. I also stopped eating eggs, pork, processed meats, gluten, and dairy. Because I breastfeed my baby, I know all my healthy eating will contribute to his health. However, his rash has not improved. My baby is 8 months old now, and I started him on organic fruits and vegetables. I could really use a recipe book so I can make healthy meals for my baby. I have so much to learn. You guys are giving me valuable information, and I'm forever grateful for the generosity. Well, Grace, first of all, thank you for being here and for sharing, and I'm glad that you're feeling lighter and more energetic since you shifted your diet and started drinking the celery juice regularly, as inspired by Anthony William. And I do want to share one resource with you. Dietitian Brenda Davis, who spoke a few days ago, co-authored a book called Becoming Vegan, the complete guide to adopting a healthy plant-based diet. It includes a major section on raising vegan children and the specific dietary needs they have, and I think you may find it beneficial. So I would encourage you to consider checking that out. Of course, there are a lot of good recipes out there. And blessings to your family. I don't have enough knowledge to be of specific help to your baby, but it sounds like you're on a good track. And I say keep going and keep learning. Janine Herman said, my sister suffers from Wegener's, which is an autoimmune disorder. The symptoms and fatigue are so severe she doesn't even have the energy to start any of the lifestyle changes that will help her. Where should she start? And I would say, Janine, there are a lot of roads in. Ultimately, it all counts. Food might be a good square one because if you eat the right foods, your mood can be better. You can have more resiliency and more energy, which might make exercising easier. So that could be a useful resource. Is to start with food. Ultimately, hopefully, she can create some positive feedback loops and go from there. Rajita said, thank you for bringing the summit. This is my first time attending, and every minute I am taking notes. I am a registered nurse and health coach. This information will be tremendously helpful to the people I work with in improving their health and this planet. Well, Rajita, I'm so glad you are here, and we want to make it easier for you to share this message and not have to take notes at every minute, so we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Congratulations. Coming up next, starting in a few moments, we'll have an interview with Anthony William. Since his early childhood, Anthony describes having the ability to converse with what he calls the spirit of compassion, who gives him access to unique health and medical insights. A friend of mine had a reading with Anthony a few years ago. She'd been battling a serious health problem for years and hired all the best doctors she could find, and they were flummoxed. In one reading, Anthony was able to diagnose the problem and tell her exactly how to solve it. She implemented his suggestions, and they worked. Whether you believe in psychic phenomena or not, and whatever you think of it, I think you will find it very interesting to hear what Anthony William has to say now about cleansing to heal and about food. So now it's time for the next segment of our broadcast, an interview with Anthony William. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Anthony William. In this summit, we put a lot of stock in the findings from health studies undertaken with rigorous methodology and published in the most credible and prestigious peer-reviewed medical journals. At the same time, we recognize that not everything that's meaningful and important can be measured. Anthony William is the originator of the global celery juice movement and the #1 New York Times best-selling author of Celery Juice, Liver Rescue, Thyroid Healing, Life-Changing Foods, and his brand new book available for pre-order now, Cleanse to Heal. Anthony was born with the unique ability to converse with the spirit of compassion, as he terms it, who provides him with advanced medical information that is, he's told, far ahead of its time. Since age 4, Anthony has been using his gift to read people's conditions and give them steps they can take to recover their health. Over the decades, Anthony has also been an invaluable resource for doctors who need help solving some of their most difficult cases. Some might question the legitimacy or accuracy of what are sometimes referred to as psychic powers. But whether you believe in them or not, a lot of our participants will no doubt be curious what insights and wisdom Anthony can share with the rest of us. What does he know or see in regards to food and health? And what might we be able to learn from it? So now, Anthony, my dad and I are grateful to have this time with you. And for the interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad and colleague, John Robbins.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Ocean. And thank you, Anthony, for being with us once again.
It's an honor to be here. I can't believe it. It's come around again. This is wonderful.
It is wonderful. And, I have just had the pleasure of reading an advanced copy of your new book, Cleanse to Heal. And that's a book that will be published and available to the public very, very soon. You dedicate this book for the underdogs. Anthony, who are you referring to when you use the word underdogs? And why have you dedicated your latest book to this group of people?
There's the sick people who have not only symptoms, but they're getting lots of multiple diagnoses and they've been through so much. And the underdog is really the person who has been disempowered by the industries with their symptoms and conditions, meaning lied to, meaning misdirected, misled. So what the underdog is, it's the army, the hidden army of people who are struggling with symptoms and conditions, who have been to doctor after doctor after doctor, have been let down, kicked down, people that are struggling and having no answers still to this day. They've been through hell and back, down on their hands and knees. And even if it was just a mild symptom that's putting them in a place of struggle and impeding their life, to even severe symptoms and different diagnoses, whatever it is. And that's the underdog. And that's who the book's dedicated to.
Anthony, I really appreciate that you have dedicated your book to the underdog. There are so many, many people suffering today and not finding answers from the medical system. Their doctors may have the best intentions. They may offer drugs and other treatments that all too often just suppress symptoms. And too often, people are left struggling with no answers as to what's causing their suffering and no answers as to what they can do about it. Our world and our food system are badly polluted, and they are getting worse all the time. And you're saying that living with symptoms and illness has become the new normal.
Yes. Yes.
Suffering has become the status quo. Illnesses are stopping a lot of people in their tracks, bringing them to their knees, forcing them to redesign their lives around feeling unwell. And you go further, Anthony. You say that with what we're up against in today's world, no one is completely safe from becoming ill. Nobody is guaranteed that one day they won't face an illness or some symptoms or a condition.
Yeah, we need to be able to protect ourselves. It's supposed to be normal for every single woman to have endometriosis. It's supposed to be normal for every single woman to have some kind of fibroid issue or PCOS or another issue. It's normal to have UTIs and acne and eczema and psoriasis, and for men and children too. It's supposed to be normal. So we're supposed to accept that. We're supposed to just kind of start all having symptoms and then get on social media and start talking about our symptoms, because it used to be social media when it was in its early days, not really talking about symptoms. That was kind of rare. You didn't really see people doing that too much. But now it's all about that. It's all about my SIBO and my bloating and my fatigue and my acne. And it's all about symptoms and conditions. And it's supposed to be the new normal. I've talked to people and they're like, oh, science research, science has everything, they figured it all out. And I'm like, well, wait till you get your first 10 symptoms or your first one symptom and you get your anxiety and your depression and you find out that it takes 3 neurologists and 3 psychiatrists to give you 4 different drugs for your anxiety. And that's still not the answer. And you haven't been down that road yet. It's so sad and it's so disturbing and negligent and everything else all under the sun. Are we going to do something about it? Are we going to actually talk about the truth of why people are sick? Are we going to actually get down to the bottom of it? In spirit of compassion, my source, which is untampered with, which is uncontaminated, which is a pure source of information that's not pushed around by interest groups and money and the agenda that's out there and the agenda of telling people, hey, it's your fault and disempowering them. Spirit of compassion is about empowerment, about the truth, wants people to know what's truly causing their conditions and symptoms. So you don't have to walk around and subscribe to the new normal, which is everybody being sick. And in 5 years from now and 10 years from now, it's going to be even way worse. And I want people to know what tools to use to heal. It's so critical.
Well, one of the tools that you recommend in your new book are cleanses. Now, there are people, I think there are many of them actually in the health world, who believe we don't need to undertake cleanses or any special detox measures because the body takes care of it naturally. The body's natural cleansing processes are sufficient. I can see the attraction of this way of thinking because it conveys respect for the healing powers each of our bodies possesses. But today we are confronted with heavy metals and pesticides and herbicides and solvents and really all kinds of petroleum-based products and other toxic chemicals that we did not co-evolve with and that today permeate and pollute the modern world. Anthony, is this why you say our bodies need to be assisted with cleansing and detoxing because we're up against too much now for it all to come out on its own?
Anybody who says your body doesn't need to cleanse, it cleanses on its own and it takes care of itself, is missing one critical, crucial point to start with. That's coming from somebody that doesn't know what causes your fibromyalgia, your multiple sclerosis, your Hashimoto's thyroiditis, your rheumatoid arthritis, your lupus, your tingles and numbness, aches and pains, pain in the jaw, neck, gums, teeth, neuropathy, neuralgia throughout the whole body, headaches, migraines, floaters, ringing in the ears. We are up against so much environmental toxic like exposure, so much more than our natural body's ability to cleanse it can handle. The trendy diets are so high in fat that you can't cleanse toxins out of your body and your liver and everything else. Because when you have all that high blood fat, how can a toxin and poison leave? It doesn't. It actually stays in the bloodstream and then recirculates back into the organs. You don't get a chance to cleanse it out. You don't get a chance for it to leave out. Or if their diets are keto, which is high fat, and when we have all these higher fats constantly in there, I'm not saying some of these aren't healthy. They are healthy fats, but when we're filling the blood with all that fat, toxins don't leave. And then the exposure, our environmental exposure, nobody knew that air fresheners were really, really dangerous for us, that plug-in air fresheners are dangerous for us. And I had to keep on telling people, nobody knows that cologne is highly toxic to us, highly toxic. And nobody knows that perfumes are highly toxic to us. Nobody knows that air fresheners, scented candles are highly toxic to us.
Well, Anthony, we can choose to not wear perfumes and we can keep distant from the perfume counters in department stores. We can purchase bath and body and household products that are unscented or are scented only with pure essential oils. We can steer clear of restaurants that burn the scented candles you're referring to. But try as we might, we cannot avoid these chemicals entirely. I mean, in your book, you point out that we can't ask the person standing next to us on the train to go home, shower, and wash their clothes in an unscented detergent. I mean, we can't avoid every exposure.
Exactly. And because of that, we need to cleanse.
Because of that, we need to cleanse. Well, people who are ill are often told that it's important that they have a positive attitude. But that's pretty hard when, just to give an example, the chronic fatigue you're trying to alleviate gets compounded by the fatigue of trying to find answers and not finding them. Anthony, some of us are having a very hard time staying positive these days. There is a lot of loss. There's a lot of breakdown and suffering and heartbreak in our world today. Some of us are feeling cranky and irritable. Some of us are feeling disheartened and even bitter. Do we have to have a positive attitude in order to benefit from the protocols you recommend? And what would you say to people whose suffering includes the fact that they are kind of caught up now in fear and disappointment?
Well, what happens is the only reason why we get caught up in fear and disappointment is because we don't know what's really causing our problems, our health problems. I think one of the most discerning and complicated and distressing issues is if we don't know what's causing our condition, we don't know what's causing our illness, if we don't know why we're sick, that takes a toll all on its own. Because once you know what the cause is, a positive attitude kicks into gear right there all on its own because you're not feeling so defeated anymore. You're not feeling so hopeless anymore. You mean there's a reason why I'm sick finally? And that's a big part of knocking out fear. That's a big part of even becoming positive on any level. People, their spirits break. They become broken along the way when they've been to their fifth doctor, sixth doctor, and they start losing that hope, or their spirits just starting to get broken and they're getting stress from their family members and their relationships. How many relationships I've heard about over the years that have completely fallen apart, and young couples break up all the time because of this. And it's devastating. But the bottom line is that's what causes the fear. What's wrong with me? I don't know. I get these diagnoses. I can't get better. There's no cure. People get into that place of fear. And then they go to doctor, and they're looking for answers. And then they're on the guessing game, the merry-go-round musical chairs. And so when that's the fear is, oh my God, I have to go to my third doctor for my endometriosis. I might even have to go up for a surgery now. And how do you stay positive in all that? And what if you don't have a support system? What if you're one of those people, and there's so many of them out there, I feel my heart pours out to them. They don't have a support system. They don't have a loving family. They don't have all this, like it's getting, pats on the back and financial support. Oh my God. And then your spirit breaks. And so first things first, you can heal because there are answers and there is a cause to why you're suffering. First things first. And that right there is huge.
Well, you're talking about people suffering and how deep it is today, how profound it is today, and how many people are trapped in pain and anguish. One of the ways that a lot of us learn is through the hard times, somehow, even from the most challenging and difficult periods of our lives. Anthony, what I want to ask you is, have there been particularly difficult periods in your life that were discouraging, but that ended up somehow teaching you something that maybe you couldn't have learned in any other way, that presented you with so much opportunities for growth that when you finally got through them, you could look back and despite how hard they were to go through, and maybe you would never want to go through them again, but you could almost say they were blessings. Have you ever had that kind of a change and transformation in your life?
As far as me, I mean, the struggle of dealing with spirit of compassion, the struggle of hearing a voice perfectly clear in my ear, telling me every single thing and everything else as a child, that was my suffering and my struggle. My struggle was giving up my life to actually be of service and only of service with not a lot of glory to it, not a lot of fun, not a lot of anything really, a lot of confrontation in that level. Because when you have a gift that's for the people, because the gift isn't for me, when you get a gift and it's for the people like this, and it's really to change the world like one tool did, like celery juice, it's healing millions worldwide that couldn't even move the needle with their health. And when you actually do things like that and put things out in the world like this, and you're hearing a voice your whole life, starting since a child, that was a struggle on its own. I didn't even want to get past my teenager years with this. I almost completely gave it up and lost it, meaning gave up life. And I've had the struggles of having to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do and only this. I'm going to have to commit. I'm going to have find that compassion and learn how to be compassionate in my own heart towards the sick and the suffering when I was younger, when I was a child. A child's not supposed to be in that position, ever put in that position of of not being able to dream or do something they want to do or go do what they want to do and just be held in the chains of this voice I hear that comes from above to provide answers. And that was my struggle and suffering. I always find that people who have been through a lot, been through hell and back, and down on their knees, praying to God or the universe or whatever they believe in up there, and the light or whatever they believe in their heart that's up there, and they're down on their hands and knees. They've been through so much. They've been sick with symptoms and conditions, and or they've had a loss, or they're struggling in some way. The spiritual growth that occurs, it's unbelievable. The most spiritually connected people I've ever come across in my life are people who have been sick and struggling.
I know what you mean. Some of the most beautiful people I've known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depths. These people have an appreciation for life, a sensitivity, and an understanding of human experience that fills them with compassion and gentleness and a deep, loving concern. Beautiful people are sometimes forged in struggle. They don't just happen. Anthony, can you tell our listeners what realizations helped you to fully embrace what was being asked of you at such an early age and what keeps you doing this work?
The bottom line is, I always say to myself, as bad as that was, it's nothing compared to the people who have eczema all over their body and they can't put clothes on and they can't go outside. It's nothing like the person who has the most crippling anxiety ever and they can't even drive in their car and drop off their kids at school. I had a mom telling me that their day only mattered when they can drop their children off at the school and start the day off right with their kids. And the husband had to drop off the kids in the school while she laid in bed in the morning because she couldn't get up and she couldn't suffer and she couldn't do anything. And that right there I feel is way worse than my suffering and struggling of wanting to give up life because I heard a voice all day long, all night long about what's wrong and how can we change all this and everything else. And then on top of that, I was taught to feel their pain and their suffering. So to actually feel it, to actually be in their shoes. And that was bad too. I mean, that was a struggle for me because growing up, Spirit of Compassion said, you're going to have to feel what it's like to be in their shoes because if you don't, you're going to disconnect like anybody can. They can just disconnect like, oh, that's a sick person. Oh, just move on. That's a sick person and whatever. And I can't do that. I actually feel what they're going through in so many ways, emotionally and even physically in some ways. So that's my struggle of today. But still, it's not as bad as the mom that can't feed her kids because she has no answers and been to 10 doctors and her husband's just losing it and they're just like falling apart and the kids are confused and they don't know what's going on. That right there, it's those kinds of things. Or the college student that has to drop out of college, has to just come home and the parents don't understand why. And they're like, oh, we'll take you to the doctor, honey. We'll take you to the doctor. And by the fifth doctor, they don't know what's wrong with their daughter with the chronic fatigue syndrome and everything else. And then she's diagnosed with Lyme disease and it's psychiatric. And then you got young women in college dropping out every day because they can't proceed in their career. They got to change their whole life. They're getting all these symptoms. Their families don't understand. And there's these problems. And when I see that, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Anthony, I have so much appreciation for your empathy and your compassion. And it's so needed today because there's so many of us in a lot of pain. And it can be physical pain, and it can be emotional pain, it can be psychological pain. But whichever type, chronic pain can make it much harder for us to enjoy our lives, to appreciate the good in our lives and to be grateful, to love others, to love ourselves. And I think the enormous problem we're having in our culture with opioid addiction reflects the enormous amount of pain that a lot of people are experiencing. And when I see so many people who are ill and suffering, I, of course, want to help them if I can. And I also imagine how much kinder we all could be to each other and to ourselves if we didn't feel awful or frightened of feeling awful so much of the time. And I imagine how much more peaceful the world would be if we were all that much kinder. What wouldn't we accomplish with that kind of power? Anthony, by choosing foods that restore our health and vitality and by undertaking periodic cleanses such as those you recommend, Are we healing more than just our bodies?
We are, of course. It prepares you spiritually. It allows you to move forward spiritually. It literally is part of your spiritual journey. It's part of it and your spiritual growth. So that I notice, and I've seen this over the years, people who are healing start embarking in other spiritual journeys out there because they were prepared for it. They're feeling better and they're getting better and they're recovering. And all of that is part of it. And they're helping to heal the root cause of their mental suffering too, like OCD, bipolar. Those are from toxic heavy metals, PTSD. I have so many people around the world healing their PTSD, their OCD, their bipolar, their ADHD, all these different conditions, their brain fog, their focus and concentration. And when you're healing and you're getting the toxic heavy metals out, including healing your anxiety and your depression, you can actually feel better in so many ways. You can start healing and old emotions come out that are stored from pain and suffering for years and years and years of struggling with so many people and different problems they've had. And that old adrenaline comes out of cells and it cleanses out and it releases emotions along with it. And you spiritually grow from this.
I've often had the experience of seeing people grow spiritually and heal physically and emotionally when they commit to eating foods that love them back rather than foods that provide only convenience and short-term pleasure. Anthony, you've spoken and written a lot about the healing powers of fruits and vegetables, and we have a vast number of studies published in peer-reviewed medical journals attesting to the magnificent healing powers of plant-strong diets that are rich in fruits and vegetables. However, in spite of these very well-documented findings, people who choose to eat vegan diets sometimes encounter suspicion. And if they develop a symptom or an illness, they might think, and the people around them might think, and even their physician might say that the problem must be the vegan diet. And it is, of course, possible that their diet might need tweaking. But if someone is eating the standard American diet, they're eating hot dogs and Twinkies and milkshakes and burgers, and they get sick, it's the rare physician who will tell them to try a more whole foods, plant-based diet and who will tell them to eat more fruits and vegetables and less junk. Because what they're eating is normal, so it doesn't attract attention.
Yeah, it's amazing how it works. It's like you're not allowed to sneeze as a vegan or a plant-based person. You're not allowed to sneeze. I mean, God forbid you get one pimple. God forbid you get a symptom because it'll be blamed on the diet.
There are many voices in the food world today telling us to avoid eating fruit, and particularly sweet fruits like bananas and papayas, because of the natural sugars that they contain. And these folks will say, well, sugar is sugar, and that eating an apple is almost as bad as eating just eating high fructose corn syrup. Now, I disagree with this, and I think the human body is actually smart enough to tell the difference between the sugar in a grape and the sugar in a gumball. And my experience has been actually that when I eat plenty of fresh fruit, and particularly berries, and also bananas and apples, my cravings for things like ice cream and donuts and cookies actually disappear. There are voices saying that eating fruit is as bad for our blood sugar levels and in fact can lead to diabetes and metabolic syndrome and fatty liver disease. Anthony, what's your view of this controversy? Do you find these warnings against fruit to be helpful or to be misguided?
Once again, and this is so important, I want everybody to know this out there. The people who are saying that the fruit sugar is bad for you, the sugar inside fruit, they don't know, once again, why you're sick. So we're actually distracted by these. Let's throw the fruit distraction at everybody. Keep them, kind of working on that a little bit. Keep that noise out there. And it stops people from healing. It's disturbing, really. Fruit is critical to our healing. And I'll tell you, here's the thing. If you know what's wrong with you, then you can figure out what foods really do work. See, fruit has antiviral, antibacterial chemical compounds, phytochemical compounds in them. So antiviral, antibacterial, and fruit has that. That means it's an antiviral food when you eat a piece of fruit. Now, your fibromyalgia, your Hashimoto's thyroiditis, your rheumatoid arthritis, your lupus, all these different conditions, are viral caused. Your aches and pains, your fatigue, your brain fog, your endometriosis, your PCOS, all viral caused. When you eat antiviral foods like fruit, and of course, celery juice, that's an example right there on its own, but I know it's a different category. It's not fruit, but you eat the fruits that are antiviral, you actually are helping prevent your condition. You're helping fight and prevent it. But then you take all the health professionals out there to buy into the camp of fruit's bad and fruit sugar's bad. They don't know what's causing all the conditions I just mentioned. They have no idea. I remember when I was having a really hard time and I was 13 years old and I was a stock boy in a grocery store and I was doing readings and building up my first clientele. And I was making celery juice for people in the store. The store owner, it was a small grocery store, and the store owner said, look, you can juice your celery in the back. I'll buy you a juicer and you make it for your people that are going through. I remember going home one night and I was just burnt out, absolutely burnt out from it all. I was just too young and too burnt out. Spirit of Compassion said, listen, if you can just hang in there, okay, we can get a lot done in this lifetime. We can get the truth out and the answers so people have that above the noise. And we can do that. And I committed.
You published a special report titled Top 10 Super Healing Foods. Two of the foods you include among what you call the top 10 super healing foods are papayas and spirulina. Anthony, what would you like our listeners to know about papayas and about spirulina?
Well, papayas are really soothing for the intestinal lining. So people who have damaged intestinal linings, it's damage from streptococcus, from E. coli. They have damaged nerves on their in the linings of their intestinal tract. They have all these damaged nerves. For 35 years or more, I've been telling people about the nerve endings that are all in the intestinal tract, the colon, the small intestinal tract. It's been one of my big talking points forever on how our digestive problems are sensitized. They're sensitized what we eat. Even if a food isn't causing a problem, it might feel like it is because the nerve endings all through our gut are so hypersensitive. And the bottom line is that the nerve endings are they're so involved with our conditions because when they get inflamed by viruses and pathogens, they need to be soothed. Papaya is an antiviral, antibacterial food. It goes down and through the gut and it soothes the linings and it soothes the nerves and it helps to get rid of the bacteria and the viruses. So it's so important.
What about spirulina?
Spirulina pulls out toxic heavy metals. Chlorella doesn't. Chlorella drops the metal if it even picks it up, and that causes more harm. What happens is, we're still out there, everybody's saying metals. Well, Chlorella is what you use. Well, Chlorella, if it even dislodges toxic heavy metal like mercury, it will drop it instantly somewhere else to a worse location. Seen this happen all the time with people. They get worse with Chlorella. Spirulina grabs onto metals. It helps deliver them out.
You call ginger a germ's worst nightmare, and you include ginger as one of your top 10 super healing foods. What would you say are the most important things for people to understand about ginger?
Well, I like ginger for cold and flu. I like ginger for the viruses that are going around. I like ginger for those things. And because it's great for like those kinds of viruses that we have to deal with. It's great for the immune system. So it's the worst nightmare for that flu that's going around, or that upgraded, mutated variety of flu that everybody's concerned about now. All of that's what one of the tools you use to help protect yourself.
You also include in your top 10 super healing foods sprouts. And in particular, you mentioned alfalfa sprouts and sunflower sprouts.
The alfalfa sprouts are good, and the radish sprouts, the broccoli sprouts. A little goes a long way with sprouts. I mean, you just use a sprinkle on your salads. They have a lot of nutrients. They have traces of zinc in there, and it's hard to get zinc anywhere. And so that's one of the reasons why that's a great superfood.
The last time you and I spoke, one of the things that I took away from our conversation was the importance of what you were calling adrenal snacks. And you said that an adrenal snack could be a celery stick with a handful of walnuts, or it could be a few almonds with a handful of berries, or it could just be cucumbers, or it could be an apple, or an apple with a couple of dates. Anthony, I've been eating adrenal stacks regularly since then, and I've been feeling better when I do that. Can you tell us why adrenal snacks are so important? And do they help to counteract the damage that we can cause ourselves when we get hooked on our own adrenaline?
If we wait to eat our meal at the end of the day, what happens is we're running on adrenaline all day long. And long term, this is going to hurt us because later on we're going to have broken down adrenals. We're going to have a weak hydrochloric acid, weak digestive system down the road. I don't recommend it because what you do is you end up damaging your adrenals because we have to be having a little bit of glucose and a little bit we have to have a few things going on. We have to have something like the celery sticks to provide a sodium mineral, like the sodium cluster salts. And then coupled with that, you have a piece of fruit like an apple that has all that hydration, that bioactive water in there. So it's like apples and celery sticks. When you're nibbling on things through the course of the day, you are giving your digestive system a break, but you're protecting your adrenals. That's the critical part. And so I explain in the book all about that. And it's why so many women lose hair. They lose hair later on in their life because they had a lifetime of burnt adrenals, because that's how women lose hair. And then what happens is when women lose hair, their doctor tells them it's autoimmune and their body's destroying their hair follicles. When really it's from 10, 15 years of not eating at the right times, throughout their day and so forth, running on coffee and all of that. It's those kinds of deficiencies that accrue and other problems, and then and adrenal issues coupled with viral infections. And you just burn your adrenals out. Your liver gets worse over time. Viruses explode as women get older. And then boom, we got hair loss, aches and pains, heart palpitations, night sweats, rashes, eczema, psoriasis, hot flashes, brain fog.
In the long run, Anthony, what do you hope will be the impact of your work, not just for the practice of medicine, but for public health?
I think that learning that it's not the underdog's fault. It's not women's fault. It's not children's fault. It's not men's fault. I want people to know there's answers and that they can be empowered to heal when they have the answers and the tools to do so. And those are the most important things. And I think the last thing would be compassion for themselves. Have compassion for yourself. Make sure you're patting yourself on the back. You're a good person. It's not your fault. And you have every reason to believe you can heal and rise out of the ashes of suffering. And I want everybody to know that.
Well, thank you, Anthony. On behalf of myself and Ocean and everyone involved in the food revolution, I want to thank you for these reminders, for all the support and help you so freely bestow to us, and for your remarkable and original work to help us all to live happier and healthier lives. And of course, for being with us today. Thank you.
Well, it's a great honor and many blessings, and everybody take care.
We've been talking with Anthony William, author of many New York Times bestsellers, including Medical Medium, Life-Changing Foods, and his brand new book, Cleanse to Heal. Anthony, your insights are refreshing, they're fascinating, and your passion is contagious in the best possible way. It's been an honor and a delight to speak with you, and we thank you so much for your partnership in the food revolution.
Bless your heart, and I'm truly honored.
Thank you so much to Anthony William and to my dad and colleague, John Robbins, for that fascinating conversation. To express your opinions on what you're hearing, to find out what other people are saying, to share where this lands in your life, to engage and connect with others, post in the comments section and read the comments section on our broadcast page. Make sure to refresh the comments using the Get the Latest Comments button so you can see the most recent ones that have been submitted. Rhonda said, I started following Anthony after the Food Revolution Summit last year. I've been doing celery juice every day for the last year. I've read all his books and I've had my skin clear up. My RA has gotten so much better. I feel great being on plant-based lifestyle. I love his information from Spirit and all the help he has brought to sick people. Judy Weinberger said, I've been following Anthony William and reading his books for 5 years. I have healed celiac disease, hypothyroid, fibromyalgia, migraines, and many other diseases by juicing celery, drinking heavy metal detox smoothies, and eating plant-based vegan. Thank you so much, Anthony. Wonderful. Rhonda, Judy, I'm so happy that you are experiencing such healing. Dina Laras said, I am so tired of being lied to about diet and health. I've been diagnosed with 3 autoimmune diseases, including APS, lupus SLE, and Sjogren's. I've been on a health journey to heal myself, and I'm not wanting to take the medications that the doctors have prescribed for me. In my journey, I've seen so many doctors, hematologists, rheumatologists. Not one has ever mentioned diet or stress, not one. I realized early on in my journey how much food and stress played a part. I originally went on a no gluten, no dairy diet. I have, in my searching, tried so many fad diets. Yoga and meditation are also essential for me keeping my stress levels down. I just went on a plant-based diet on January 1, and I'm amazed at the energy I have, and my joint pain, which was my biggest enemy, has virtually disappeared. I am trying to learn more and more. I really want to reverse my diseases. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this. Oh my goodness, Dina, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I am sorry you have been suffering in so many ways. And I'm sorry that no one was telling you about food. But I'm glad that you're on the journey now and discovering what may work and already experiencing such tremendous healing. What an inspiring story for all of us. Latoya Lewis said, this is my first summit. Although I missed days 1 and 2, I've tuned in every day since. I am so happy to have discovered this fountain of information. I have developed type 2 diabetes, eczema, sciatica, and a few other conditions because I have been neglecting myself, taking care of my special needs children. I made a vow to take better care of my body, not only to be here for them, but for myself. I'm only 42. I want to be around for a long time. Thank you so much for making the summit accessible for those of us who may not have been able to obtain this information otherwise. I am forever grateful. Latoya, thank you so much for sharing what you're going through and for being here, taking time to learn and grow and care for yourself as well as your children. So many people who are in your position caring for others day in and day out make, by necessity kind of, the needs of those others the center of their life. And it's so easy then to get depleted, to get stressed. And as we know, an overflowing cup gives most bountifully. It's very hard to feel like an overflowing cup when people's basic essential needs are demanding everything you've got and more. But we're here to say thank you for taking care of yourself as well as your children. And we want to make it a little bit easier for you. So we're going to gift you with the Almond Cow, which is a wonderful device that helps make it easy to make plant-based milks so your whole family can enjoy them using almonds or oats or rice or soy or various other legumes or nuts or seeds. You can make delicious plant-based milks, and I hope you have fun with that. So our team will be in touch. Make sure to check your Facebook messages to find one from our team. Melinda Morgan said, when conversations such as these focus on autoimmune issues, they seldom, if ever, include autoimmune-related skin diseases such as eczema and psoriasis. Doctors say they are incurable conditions, but they can be managed with meds, creams, phototherapy, etc. Sadly, they don't work. How would the doctors on today's program treat these conditions? What specific protocols would they use to at least relieve common symptoms like unbearable itching, flaking skin, etc.? Please help. Well, Melinda, first of all, I can only imagine that you or someone very close to you is suffering from these conditions, and I'm sorry to hear it, and we're sending our love and our prayers for your healing. This is the Food Revolution Summit, so I'm going to talk a little bit about food. With eczema specifically, eating certain foods can trigger the body to release the immune system compounds that cause inflammation, and this in turn contributes to an eczema flare-up. Some of the common foods that have been found in various studies to trigger eczema flare-ups and that could be removed from a diet on a testing basis would include citrus fruits, dairy, eggs, gluten or especially wheat, soy, and a few spices, specifically vanilla, cloves, and cinnamon, also tomatoes, and some types of nuts. So while some of these can be very healthy foods for most people, if you're dealing with autoimmune conditions, including eczema flare-ups, you may want to try an elimination diet where you go off all of those foods at once for a period of time to see if that might be helpful. Again, the foods I listed, there may be others that could be included, but this is what's commonly cited as being beneficial here to consider eliminating our citrus fruits, dairy, eggs, gluten, especially wheat, soy, vanilla, cloves, and cinnamon, tomatoes, and some types of nuts. Now, you may also want to focus on the good stuff. If you want to eat more anti-inflammatory foods, that's going to mean especially emphasizing foods that are high in probiotics. That includes things like yogurts, which can be plant-based with live and active cultures, also miso soup, tempeh, kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, other fermented foods that are high in probiotics. You also might want to eat foods that are high in inflammation-fighting flavonoids, especially colorful fruits and vegetables like apples, broccoli, cherries, spinach, and kale can all be fabulous in this way. Eating more of the foods that bring down inflammation and testing eliminating trigger foods could be very helpful in reducing eczema flare-ups. A person's diet isn't always a trigger for eczema, but some people may find that their symptoms do get better when they make dietary changes. Lauren Applegate said, hypothetically, what would happen to all the production animals if everyone decided to go vegan in one day? If we aren't going to use them in that manner, what will happen to them? If farmers have no use for them, they aren't going to hold on to them, and they wouldn't survive very long roaming free. Either way, someone is paying a cost, whether it's the animals, farmers, or the planet. I'd love to know. Well, Lauren, thanks for asking. The reality is that I think everybody going vegan tomorrow is kind of unlikely. So most likely these things transition over time. Dr. Clapper spoke on the very first day of this summit about his vision of helping farmers who are in the animal products industry to be given financial support to transition so that they don't need to bear the brunt of societal changes. But if we do move in a plant-based direction, we can dismantle a lot of these factory farms in stages. And right now, it wouldn't take very long, by the way, because right now there's a lot of forced impregnation, rape racks, as they're sometimes called. These animals are being forced to have babies rapidly and frequently to mass produce them. So truthfully, if we just stopped that, then there wouldn't be a lot more need to deal with any particular problems. I love cows. I love pigs. I love chickens. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see a world without them. I just want to see them treated with respect and love and kindness. And I want to see them able to live in good places. And there are farm sanctuaries, by the way, where animals are rehabilitated, where factory farmed animals are actually rescued and protected and live a good, long, healthy life. And what's amazing, by the way, is that a lot of these animals come terrified of human beings. Like a human being steps towards them and they jump away, just so scared. But over time, they can recover. You know, these animals have PTSD from living in these factory farms, as do many of the workers from those spaces. But over time, they can heal and they can become loving and they can look forward to human contact and restore their natures again, which to me gives me incredible hope for all of us, really. If animals can put up with that kind of abuse and then in time can find peace and love again in their hearts, then maybe we can too. So what do participants say about the Food Revolution Summit, years later even? A lot of summit participants have adopted the concepts, the regimens, and the dietary patterns that our panelists advocate. One of them is Gina Banana Lemos from Orange County, California. She participated in one of our past Food Revolution Summits, and what she learned had a tremendous impact on her life and now on a great many other people she's touching. This is what Gina had to say.
My name is Gina Bonanno Lemos, and this is my Food Revolution story. I'm a 43-year-old mother of two, and I have never been in better health or had more energy in my entire life. I'll admit this wasn't always the case. Since childhood, I've struggled with colds and flus, debilitating allergies, asthma, strep throat, you name it. I mean, it kept me from going to school and from being with my friends. And my health issues continued and then worsened in my 20s after I had my first child. And I began having sinus infections anywhere from 4 to 6 times a year. And they would last for weeks and weeks before I'd give in and I'd get antibiotics and steroids. Then I started suffering with dangerously low blood pressure and I developed adult onset cystic acne, which is so gross. And so finally, in my mid to late 20s, I decided I'd had enough. I just was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I went on this mission to change my health. And I began studying everything I could get my hands on regarding nutrition and fitness. And although I was very physically fit, I would lift weights 5 to 6 days a week, and I ate what most Americans consider to be extremely healthy, all low fat foods, lots of chicken and turkey and fish. But my health problems just persisted on into my 30s. And then finally, after more than 40 years of suffering, something incredible happened. I went to have coffee with a friend, and she introduced me to the idea of a plant based diet. And I'll admit, although it made perfect sense, the science was there, and I made some small changes. It wasn't until I listened to the Food Revolution Summit in 2013 that it just clicked for me. And I made the full changes, and my health changed dramatically and within a very short period of time. So everyone asked me what it was that had the biggest impact. And I have to say, it was the phenomenal knowledge that I gathered from the Food Revolution Summit speakers. It just really was the impetus for such a major change in my life and diet. They opened my eyes to so many things that I was completely unaware of. I couldn't believe I hadn't heard this stuff before. And in particular, the fact that I was eating what mainstream media had brainwashed me into thinking was quote unquote healthy. And this was based on a very corrupt industry and healthcare system. So now I am ecstatic to report that not only have all of my health issues all but vanished, but I haven't even had so much as the sniffles in more than 15 months. And this is while everyone around me is dropping like flies from the recent flu outbreak. I also no longer need coffee in the afternoon to get me past that, 2 to 3 p.m. fatigue, and I have more energy than I need. And in July of last year, just a few months after making these changes, I had a follow up visit with a hormone specialist that I started seeing at the beginning of the year. And without any medications, any hormones, she informed me that based on my blood results, that my health markers had all improved. And she said, and I quote, that I had reversed the aging process by changing my diet and I was no longer perimenopausal. So, how cool is that? I have to tell you, this experience had such a profound impact on me, so much, in fact, that I actually made the decision that after 20 years in my career, I decided to change careers. And I'm now studying to be a health coach so I can help others enjoy long, healthy lives free of disease, illness, drugs, all that yuck. So, I am so incredibly grateful for the Food Revolution Summit and for the empowerment package I got last year, which is awesome. This message is life changing. I'm absolute proof of that. And for anyone who's listening right now, I just want to tell you, you can change your life, you can change your world. This stuff is real. It absolutely works. And I will be forever grateful and inspired to help spread this message of hope and healing to anyone who's willing to listen. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Gina Banana Limos for those inspiring words. She recorded those a little while back, and she actually created a book on cancer fighting foods and lifestyle choices, which is one of the bonuses that comes with the empowerment package. So you can learn more about her and her brilliant coaching and advice. She is hilarious and also quite insightful. We heard from Claudia, who said, "Hi, Anthony and Ocean Robbins. I'm a brain tumor survivor currently fighting COVID-19. I'm an integrative health coach, and I'm loving this summit. Unfortunately, I was laid off due to COVID, but it's allowed me time to heal and realize that I had started eating poorly again, which may have contributed to my getting sick. I've been taking so many notes and learned so much. I am committed to help others as well as myself. I didn't have the energy to listen to days 1 to 3, but once I have the energy, I will look forward to it. Well, Claudia, thank you for being here. We're so glad you're with us right now. I'm sorry that you were laid off and that you've been through a brain tumor and that you're currently sick with COVID-19. We are sending you our love and our healing prayers. And we want to make it a little bit easier for you to catch up on what you missed and to share in this whole summit journey. And we want to support you in your recovery. So we're going to gift you with an empowerment package. Our team will follow up with you. Congratulations. I know you will put it to good use. And congratulations also to all of our other recent new empowerment package owners, including Helene from Switzerland, Tony from Ontario, Canada, Sue from Great Britain, Jody from Delaware, Megan from Ohio, Susan from Illinois, and Centria from New Jersey, and everybody else who is stepping forward and owning this for life. We are so grateful for your investment in our work. We know that you are taking a stand for your health, and we're also grateful that you're helping us to carry on with this Food Revolution mission so we can share this summit with even more people all over the globe, so we can keep writing articles. Our blog reaches millions of people every single year, and we are just committed to getting this out there as far and wide as possible, and your investment helps us keep on going. So thank you so much for that. We heard from Jill Weeks, who said, "I'm so glad I signed up for the Food Revolution Summit. I didn't realize it had been going on for so many years. I'm blown away by how much I'm learning. This year I'm turning 50, and I made a promise to myself that I would get in better shape. This is the perfect start to help motivate me to keep my promise. I've been scrambling, writing so many notes down so I won't forget anything. I'm also wanting to share this with my family because I'm understanding how important our health truly is. I want to thank you for the work that everybody does to make this happen." Thank you, Jill, and I really want to honor our entire team at Food Revolution Network. We have a team all over the world that is coming together to make this summit happen and to make our work happen. It's an incredible team. My dad and I get a lot of the attention, but really there are so many people that are behind this. And I also want to thank all of our speakers and all of our participants. It takes all of us to make this thing happen. So thank you, Jill, for being a part of it with us. And I'm so happy that you're putting it to good use. And now I want to introduce our recipe of the day. It is a raspberry pecan dressing. Whole plant-based foods contain a lot of phytonutrients that can help reduce inflammation. This raspberry pecan dressing has omega-3 rich nuts and antioxidant rich raspberries that can help fight inflammation, and it is, by the way, delicious. It's great on a salad, it's great on a bowl, which can mix salad and grains, and it's just great. So I think dressings are one of the keys to enjoying a healthy lifestyle, because when you have good healthy dressings, good healthy sauces, they kind of make everything taste better. So this is a good one. Every day we have a recipe of the day, and you can make the recipes right along with the summit and enjoy in community with others. Think of yourself as you sit down to eat each recipe of the day, and think of yourself as dining in a virtual table with hundreds of thousands of people in this summit right now. We are not alone. We are very much connected. And I want to make sure you know about the daily wraps that we're holding at the end of every summit. About an hour after each day of this summit, we're posting a daily wrap. My dad, Dr. Joel Kahn, and I are debriefing the day. We're talking about what happened, what we learned, what inspired us, what stimulated us, what do we want to share that we think is most important coming out of reflecting on the day's conversations. It's a great way to digest. It's a great way to capture some of the top highlights. And we've been having a lot of fun with these daily wraps. So go ahead and tune in. We'll send out an email when the replays are live, or you can just come on back to the replays page anytime at noon or later Pacific time, 3 or later Eastern time. You'll find that posted right there. Gwen Pierce said, "Ocean and John, much gratitude for sharing this ever valuable summit with us. Your love and compassion for others and for the planet are so evident in everything you say and do. I am very encouraged that the whole food plant-based lifestyle will be taught in medical school. However, my worry is that for those healthcare providers who are already practicing. I work in a healthcare clinic with pediatric diabetes patients. Sadly, many of these patients are overweight and have developed type 2 diabetes. My hope is to educate our healthcare providers on the whole food plant-based lifestyle, so they in turn will provide this as an option to our patients. I'm also working on setting up a month-long hands-on whole food plant-based nutrition kitchen to help encourage our patients on their journey. Just trying to do what I can to spread the word in my little corner of the world. Please continue your invaluable work. Gwen, thank you for spreading this invaluable work in your little corner of the world. This is how the world changes. Each of us step by step sharing what we can, doing what we can. I'm so sorry when I think about how many patients are overweight and suffering from type 2 diabetes and their healthcare providers are not telling them about food. My heart kind of breaks a little bit for every single one of those people. You know, they deserve treatment, but they also deserve the truth. They deserve to know that diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is reversible. 90% of the time or more, it is reversible. And it starts with food. It really, really starts with food, as well as exercise and lifestyle in general. But food is the centerpiece. So thank you for sharing this, Gwen. Thank you for helping build the revolution in your community. And everybody listening, let's keep spreading the word, because this story must be told. Too many people are hurting. Too many people are suffering needlessly, unnecessarily. So let's not let that continue more than it needs to. Let's spread this truth. Thank you, Gwen, so much. So now we're moving towards the end of completion of day 6 of the Food Revolution Summit. To express your opinions on the summit so far and to find out what other people are saying, post and engage in the comments right on the broadcast page. Make sure you can refresh the comments so you can see the latest ones. You can also join in the conversation on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Food Revolution Network. And I want to share one more resource with you. If you're looking for an extra bonus thing to check out, there's an organization called Open Source Wellness. The website is opensourcewellness.org. And their goal is basically to be, if a doctor wants to prescribe a drug, they send you to a pharmacy. But if they want to prescribe a healthy diet and lifestyle, they basically say, good luck with that, and expect nothing to happen. Well, Open Source Wellness wants to be the pharmacy for lifestyle change, and they're building online programs. They're starting to be tested out with insurance companies and some hospital programs, and they're getting tremendous results, helping people actually implement all the stuff we're talking about here. So if you're interested, check out opensourcewellness.org. They're still kind of early stage. They have wonderful resources and programs already, and they also need more financial support for those who may be so inspired to help carry this forward. Come on back and join us tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 Eastern, 3 p.m. GMT for Hormones, bringing your body into balance. We'll have some extremely powerful presentations from Dr. Linda Carney on the keys to hormonal balance, from Dr. Neil Barnard on his new book, The New Science of Food, Hormones, and Health, and for Dr. Christian Northrup on medicine for your body, your heart, and your soul. And in the meanwhile, post your comments, share in the conversation. Catch the replays at foodrevolution.org/replays. Check out the empowerment package so you can invest in our mission and in your health and own it all for life. Come on back and check out the daily wrap posted in an hour. And enjoy some delicious, healthy food, including our recipe of the day. We wish you a wonderful, healthy, thriving day. This is Ocean Robbins signing off from day 6 in the Food Revolution Summit. At Food Revolution Network, we're on a mission for healthy, ethical, sustainable food for everyone who eats. We believe that no matter where you come from or what you've been through, the simple truth is you are meant to thrive. The Food Revolution Summit is packed with so many insights that it can be difficult to absorb and apply all of them. That is why we created the Empowerment Package, which includes the entire summit, plus all the transcripts and loads of bonus material that you can refer back to as often as you like for life. We have a mission. We want an end to routine use of antibiotics in factory farms. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school, and we want doctors to learn about nutrition in medical school. We want to slash rates of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity, and to uplift the health of millions. When you purchase the Empowerment Package, you are supporting your health and this mission. And for each package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, enabling them to plant an organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Invest in your health and the health of those you care about most, and help us change the status quo by purchasing your empowerment package today.